For one system for only $55. You heard that right. A great tune-up special for only $55. One of the many ways you can save at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. You get 6 months no-interest financing available on repairs. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, locally owned and operated, offering premium service without the premium price. Visit springhillac.com or call them at 615-778-8855.
The 2021 Major League Soccer season isn't over yet, Nashville. Are you in? There are just 2 regular season home matches remaining as we make our final push for a playoff spot. Don't miss the action on Wednesday, October 20th at 7:30 p.m. against the Columbus Crew. Or catch the last regular season match of the season on Sunday, November 7th at 2:30 p.m. against New York Red Bulls at Nissan Stadium. Come be a part of the most unique sports experience in Nashville. Tickets are on sale now from just $22 at NashvilleSC.com. Everyone in.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game. Caroline Fenton, hello.
Hello, how we doing?
Good. Ian Safar, hello.
Hello, hello.
We are streaming today on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Thanks to our friends at the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We have a loaded show, the TD Power Hour. In 1 hour at 3 o'clock, Titans and Jets. I kind of took a nap before the show today, and I think it's in large part because it's the Jets this weekend.
Is it? Or were you just snoozy from playing around with tractors today?
I was with our friends at Parman Tractor and Equipment today, and they let me play around with the tractors, and I was having a blast playing with the tractor. You know, the big, so there's 2 joysticks in there, and one, you move the tractor. Uh-huh. And anybody who's, in construction or has worked on tractors before is probably sitting there being like, dude, yes, that's how a tractor works. But I think people know, you know how, with dogs, there's outdoor dogs that stay outside all the time, and there's indoor dogs that, never go outside except to pee?
Well, yeah, but that makes me sad. I hate it when dogs are just outside all the time.
I'm an indoor dog.
And
I was like, man, if I bring this, the little bucket thing, if I bring that back in there and it hits the ground and, breaks, it's time. It's easy to say, Emmitt Smith, he's the all-time leading rusher.
Marshall Faulk could be put up there.
Marshall Faulk was awesome.
Yeah.
I came up with, a couple. I think Larry Johnson, when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs, Larry Johnson was a bad dude. And people forget about it. He got so many carries and so many concussions, he fell off the cliff. But Larry Johnson in Kansas City was a bad dude. Priest Holmes runs for 2,000 yards. Now, he ended up in jail and then got out of jail or something like that. But anywho, Jamal Lewis, bad boy, at the peak. I saw this stat this morning. Titans PR sent this out. In Derrick Henry's last 25 games, because I asked my dad, I said, you've been watching. Derrick Henry had over 100 yards on Sunday. He had more yards receiving. And I'm the only person here who's like, oh, Henry was amazing. Everybody else is like, yeah, I mean, Henry's good, but not like anybody was just dropping their jaws because Henry was so great. And I'm like, guys, in the last 25 games, Derrick Henry last week against the Colts produced 113 on 28 rushing attempts. It was his second consecutive 100-yard game and the 22nd 100-yard regular season game of his career, and he's got 3 of those in the playoffs. Derrick Henry's 32 hunting games are the most in NFL history by any player over any stretch of 25 regular season games. So think about that stat. In the last 25 games, Derrick Henry has had more rushing yards than any player has ever had in a 25-game stretch. That doesn't even count in the playoffs. Doesn't even count those games. In the last 25. And there have been games where the Titans are out of it, and they can't even run the football. Think about the Arizona game in week 1. They couldn't even run the ball in that game. In the last 25 games, no player has ever been that good at that position, or at least are we taking what we're seeing for granted right now? I think we all know there's a shelf life for Derrick Henry. How long is it? I didn't think Tom Brady would be winning Super Bowls at 44. But I do think that, hey, Derek's getting closer to 30, and Derek's got some tread on the tires, and Derek rushed the ball a bunch last year, and he rushed it a bunch the year before. Maybe what you're seeing right now out of Derrick Henry in a league that, for the most part, has marginalized that position. Like, maybe this is the best ever, and we're not looking at this and best sacker in the NFL right now. Because I feel like that changes on a year in and year out basis.
You could say Chandler Jones. You could say Chase Young.
TJ Watt.
Yeah.
But the best side. Let's look at TJ Watt. Let's look at Chandler Jones. Let's look at any of those guys where it's like over a 2-year period, this guy is, for quarterbacks, are going to skyrocket because the game is now more passing. 400 yards is the new 300 yards and 500 yards is the new 350. But is there anybody that we look at right now and say, you know what, I think Mahomes is going to win as many Super Bowls as Brady? Probably not. And the one guy that we do know is the best ever, we truly appreciate him as the best ever. Going to set all kinds of records on Sunday when Brady plays New England. Like, he is, and I'm not saying Derrick Henry is the best ever. And I'm not saying, me, I think Derrick Henry is probably one accolade short of being in the Hall of Fame. If Derrick Henry wins the MVP, which I think we should be talking more about Derrick Henry for MVP. But if Derrick Henry wins the MVP, then I think he's in the Hall of Fame. If Derrick Henry rushes for 2,000 yards again, then I think he's in the Hall of Fame. If Derrick Henry wins a Super Bowl, then I think Derrick Henry is in the Hall of Fame. If Derrick Henry becomes the consecutive seasons, then I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think those are all, things that I say, okay, if Derrick Henry does one more, then he belongs in the Hall of Fame. But I'm sitting here thinking, is Derrick even in the Hall of Fame yet? I don't know. But then you see this stat over a 25-game period. That is not a flash in the pan. That is not one good season. That is 2 seasons. Derrick Henry is the team's defense. I think there's other things we need to take into account. The team's defense was atrocious last year, and they won 11 games. Nobody look like they're going to win the division this year. And right now, this high-powered offense that had all these names everybody was excited about, all those guys are hurt, and yet the offense just keeps rolling along. The quarterbacks turned the ball over 5 times in 3 games, and it doesn't matter because they got this guy behind them. And not only that, now he's learned how to Derrick Henry as your star. You can't ask Shaquille O'Neal to hit threes. And I'm not going to ask Derrick Henry to try to be Christian McCaffrey catching the football. But at the same time, most everybody out there says, if you're going to win, you have to have the quarterback. But he's not the quarterback. Last guy that won a Super Bowl was Tom Brady. He's the quarterback. Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl. That's the thesis statement that I've come up with today off of that stat, which was percolating in my mind a little bit before I saw the stat. Again, the stat is Derrick Henry's, my goodness gracious, Derrick Henry's 3,276 rushing yards in the last 25 games ever. Prior to Derrick Henry, Barry Sanders owned the 25-game rushing stretch with 3,192 rushing yards in 1997 and 1998. Why did Barry Sanders retire? Derrick Henry can join Barry Sanders and Terrell Davis and Jim Brown and O.J. Simpson. The first 2 years of his career, he was a backup. The longevity, and the third year, Matt LaFleur wouldn't use him. He is one of the best. And then back to my point about these other positions. We look at the best wide receiver in the NFL. Who's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now?
Devontae Adams.
Okay, you could say Adams, which is what I was thinking.
DeAndre Hopkins.
About DeAndre Hopkins or Devontae Adams that would say they could be the best over a 25-game stretch ever. And that's why I always think Derrick Henry might be the best player in the NFL. He might be the best player. And again, what he's doing, nobody has ever done before. And I am floored. Somebody texted me today and said, hey, you got to see this Henry stat. I am floored by it. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow. And I think is he the best? Like, is he the best player in the NFL? I mean, again, the Titan team that they have right now, if you took Derrick Henry off the Titans and you put in Mekhi Sargent or Jeremy McNichols, they're probably 0-3 right now. Ryan, the NFL thought he was a backup. And I'm just saying, that stat, I mean, I just wonder, are we truly appreciating the greatness that we've never seen anybody have a 25-game stretch like Derrick Henry has right now? And that does not include the 2 playoff games where Derrick Henry absolutely went.
Position.
Yeah, the running back position is marginalized.
Because if Derrick Henry is doing what he is doing now in, let's say, 2001, I think it would be a totally different story.
I think if Derrick Henry was doing what he was doing, I think a couple things are at play. One, Derrick Henry's not on a premier franchise team. He's not on the Packers. He's not on the Cowboys. He's not. I think, two, Derrick is not an eccentric guy. You know, like, think about all the guys that are superstars that aren't quarterbacks in the NFL. Like the true, like, superstars where they got to talk about them on TV every 5 minutes no matter what. It's Odell Beckham Jr. It's
Christian McCaffrey.
It's Jamal Adams. It's, you know, it's the guys that talk. It's the look at me guys. It's the McCaffrey. I mean,
I don't think he's a look at me guy.
They don't really talk. Zeke, you know, Zeke's one of these guys they always talk about. When you outside of the quarterback position. And Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown were that way when they were in Pittsburgh.
Gronk.
Derrick is not an attention seeker, or you bring up Gronk, in that case, kind of an attention getter. I don't think Gronk's an attention seeker.
I think it's just his personality.
I think he's just like, hey, you know, I'm wild and crazy and I just do whatever I want. And everybody's just like, yes, yes. Floyd told me that he scouted Gronk when they drafted him in New England and that Gronk's house at Arizona was across the street from the... I mean, again, are we appreciating Derrick Henry enough? I'm going to say this. The country is not appreciating Derrick Henry enough. The United States of America, where football is the number one sport, is not appreciating that 25-game stat. They are not appreciating that enough. Are we, though? Should it be more than that? Should it be that if... Like, I went to college at Louisville, and I used to be on the radio in Louisville. And it's like, if you don't love everything Lamar Jackson does every day, you're a hater. Like, how dare you be mad at Lamar for that performance in the playoffs against the Chargers? How dare you be mad at passer in the NFL? Look at the stats. Lamar's okay. Lamar's good. Like, I mean, Lamar is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, but he's not one of the best. And I think a lot of people doubt whether or not Lamar can win a Super Bowl. It's like, how dare you say that about Lamar? And I don't think we have that as far as other people talking about Derrick Henry. Like, how dare you say that? But again, over the last... And I just, when I saw that stat, you know, obviously everybody knows I love Derrick Henry. When I saw that stat, my eyes popped. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. That's the question we're starting with. Now that you know that stat, over the last 25 games, Derrick Henry, best running back in the NFL. How does it make you appreciate him? More, less, the same? Are we doing a good enough job promoting what Derrick Henry's doing? Is Derrick Henry adequately respected? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Plus, does Derrick need to win a Super Bowl now in order not just for his legacy, but maybe even for something bigger than that? We'll explain next, right here on Stillman & Company. 615-737-1025. And by the way, how many yards, if AJ and Julio are out, how many yards should he get against Easy if they want to give him the ball that much? 615-737-1025. Let me tell you about my friends at Edmunds. Buying a car can be overwhelming, especially now that demand every year, testing thousands of hours on hundreds of new vehicles. They review almost every car on the market and rank the best ones in each category, so you can narrow your search and compare options side by side to find the best vehicle for you. When you're ready, Edmunds makes it easy to find options in your area with accurate price estimates. They have helpful filters like searching for color, model, special features, engine type, drivetrain, price, distance, and more. They even show you dealerships that are offering home delivery. Edmunds is here to guide you to your perfect vehicle. Visit Edmunds.com to see their best car rankings and search for vehicles near you. That's EDMUNDS.com for cars. There's Edmunds.
October 14th.
Toward the net, the back end of the score. Predators break out in front.
The Nashville Nashville Predators regular season begins when they host the Seattle Kraken.
And the Predators win it overtime.
And your only home for every moment of the action is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
Find it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah. The big dog's got it.
Craneworks is ready to help lift Nashville. As the Southeast's most trusted name in crane and equipment rental for over 30 years, Craneworks offers certified operators to make sure the job is done right. Rentalworks is a rigging project called Craneworks. Visit craneworks.com.
Hey, Darren McFarland here, and let me tell you about my friends at Curation CBD. If you're like me and have aches and pains all over your body and you've been searching for a solution, well, I've got it. It's Curation CBD. Curation means healing, and that right there says it all. Curation is locally and organically sourced CBD products right here from Middle Tennessee. From seed to final sell, Curation is passionate about providing quality products for everyday use for athletes and for pets, too. Order yours now at CurationCompany.com. Curation CBD, curated for life.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing. Social Furniture on the West Side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box store. Shop local, shop social.
It's football season, and Social Furniture has the best lifetime guarantee motion furniture on sale now. Their sofas with recliners are push-button electric and wall-away with all colors to choose from for your comfort. Sectionals from $9.99, recliners from $3.99. Sectionals with Chase Lounge and all-electric recliners from $19.99. Social Furniture will have you football ready with all furniture that are plus leather, microfiber, and There's no waiting, and take home your new motion furniture today or with their same-day fine furniture delivery. Social Furniture has no down payments and no interest. You don't want to miss out on their best lifetime guarantee motion furniture sale going on now.
Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Have you tried learning a new language but it never seems to stick? That's because there's more to language than learning vocab words. Babbel is different. Babbel's multiple ways to learn helps you explore every aspect of a new language, anytime, right from your phone or computer. Practice real-life conversations.
Limited to 6 people. We keep them small so everyone can get the help and practice they need.
Review words and phrases with fun games, or dive into the culture with short videos. Whatever, from the interactive lessons and live online classes to the podcasts and games, will teach you things you'll actually use, so you're ready for real-life conversations. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel. More ways to explore, more ways to learn. Start learning today at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
You go back and look at the film or the stat sheet or so. Are you ever amazed by the number of touches that Derek gets through the course of a game and the durability that he has week to week?
Yeah, I've said it time and time again. The guy's unbelievably durable. Just the consistency he shows week in and week out over the course of the season. You look at, since I've been here 3+ years or 2+ years of him getting a lot of touches and just being consistent week in and week out. So, a ton of respect for that and the work he puts.
Derrick Henry, he's just incredible with his durability and the work he puts in. And you are right, Ryan. For the 2+ years you've been here, Derrick Henry has been the best running back in the history of the NFL. Again, in the last 25 games, this is a stat that Titans PR put out today. And Titans PR says, or this is the stat, Henry's 3,276 rushing yards in his last 25 regular season games, the most in NFL history by any player over any stretch of 25 games ever, taking the nod from Barry Sanders. And so this starts, his most recent 25 regular season games, starts with the Kansas City game on November 10th of 2019. He rushed for 188 in that game. And, I mean, it includes some 57 yards against Buffalo in that Titan blowout win on a Tuesday night, 68 yards against Chicago in a game that Mike Vrabel pulled Derrick Henry out of the game because they had a Thursday night against the Colts upcoming the next week, which was the smart move to do by Vrabel at the time, but it certainly doesn't help the stats. 75 in that just horrific game against Pittsburgh last year, 60 in the horrible game against Cleveland last year. Now, he fumbled the ball early, and that was bad. Let's see. Did you know that he had 98 rushing yards at Green Bay last year in that snow game where everybody was awful? I did not. And then 58 yards against Arizona. So he's had some games in there where he hadn't been great. But, I mean, again, best ever in Derrick Henry. And I do wonder this question. We've talked about if the Titans, we've talked about a couple things regarding the Super Bowl and Derrick Henry's greatness, right? Mm-hmm. So can you win a Super Bowl with a team that's led by a running back? Because most people will tell you no. And most people will say, don't draft running backs in the first round. The shelf life of the running back is not very high. There's only so many hits the running back can take. Let's be real about the running back here. It's not as important as quarterback. And we wonder, okay, can you win a Super Bowl with an average defense, an average quarterback, although I think Tannehill's above average, but most people don't. Tannehill at quarterback and this guy leading you. I don't know. Question mark. We'll see. We've also wondered, okay, does Derrick Henry need a Super Bowl to cement his spot in Canton? That everything that he's doing right now is so good that if he does it, he ends up in Canton in the Hall of Fame winning a Super Bowl, because you'd say, look, 2-time rushing champion at least, 2,000-yard rusher, great dominant player, won a Super Bowl with the Titans. That, I think, is enough to get you into Canton. But I also wonder this. Does Derrick need a Super Bowl, not just for his legacy, but to legitimatize the running back position in the league? Because the running back position is marginalized. You're never going to take a kicker. Justin Tucker's the best kicker in maybe the history of the NFL, just hit the longest kick. And the Ravens would never pay him $10 million a season, even though he's going to lead them in points every year. And he changes how you coach games and play games, because all you've got to do is get the ball to the 42 and he's going to hit it. But you would never pay that guy $10 million a year, and nobody would ever say, hey, key to your team is kicker. And Justin Tucker has been great for a long time, but he's never kicked them to the Super Bowl. I think he was their kicker when they won in 2012, but it was never like they won because of Justin Tucker. But if Derrick Henry wins the Super Bowl, and it's like how we feel right now, then does that change the notion of the running back position? Where it was, hey, Walter Payton was great, but he had that 85 Bears defense. Emmitt Smith was great, but he had Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and that Cowboy offensive line. And it's like, what's Derrick Henry got? A guy who Miami didn't want to be their quarterback, an aging wide receiver who's going to go to the Hall of Fame, another wide receiver who can't stay healthy, a decent offensive line maybe, and an average to below average defense. It's his team. So does he need this to legitimatize the running back position?
Well, I guess my question for you is the MVP the best player in the NFL, regardless of circumstances? Or even, considering the circumstances, like Derrick Henry has been able to do so much with a team that isn't necessarily considered elite. Or is it the best player on one of the better teams? Maybe not the best team, but one of the better teams, a team that's in Super Bowl conversations. Because I think it would be really difficult for Derrick Henry to win MVP if the Titans are not in some sort of Super Bowl conversation.
So the Titans will be in the Super Bowl conversation this year because they're going to win the division. So they're going to be in the playoffs, and all of that is taken into account before the playoffs start. Like the MVP voting is done at the end of the regular season. A quarterback is normally going to win over a running back. Adrian Peterson was the last running back to win the award. I think if Derrick gets close to 2,000 or does it again, and he is on pace for exactly 2,000 yards this year, and the Titans, and the season goes the way I think it's going to go for the Titans, which is I think the Titans are going to be, by default, one of the best teams in the AFC this year. I don't think the Colts are any good. I think the Texans are miserable. I think Jacksonville's awful. I think they're playing a lot of bad teams this year. Case in point, this week. And so I think the Titans are going to get to 11, 12, 13 wins easy, much easier than before. Like, think about games we looked at on the schedule and how we feel about them now. Pittsburgh, New England.
Not really worried about it.
Indy the second time. Like the Patriots.
I'm a little bit more worried about the Rams than I was going into this season. But I think also my level of worry about the Chiefs and the Bills maybe has gone down just slightly.
Well, even those games are all games that are legitimate.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the teams that we thought, like the Patriots,
teams we were iffy about.
The Patriots could be good, and now we know that the Patriots are probably not going to be good this year. That doesn't mean that I think they're legit, like that they can go win a Super Bowl this year. But I do think that for the most part, it's probably going to be a little bit easier for them. And the reason I say this is because so then I think he could be in the discussion. I think Derrick Henry absolutely is in the most valuable player discussion. This is the 25-game stretch he's going through right now is the best ever. Ever. And you can't – that's the one thing I think I believe in is when you talk about this is the best ever. And it's not some bullcrap stat like, attempts per this. This is rushing yards over a 25-game period. Ian, you remember when Derek lit it up at the end of 2018 when Matt LaFleur was forced to remove his head from his own ass because he wouldn't give Derek the ball. And then all of a sudden, Derek runs for 99 yards in a game, and then he runs for 238 and 4 touchdowns in that game, and you got to give Derek the ball all the time. And Floyd kept saying, I got to see it more. I got to see it more. I got to see it more than 4 games. Kept saying it. And then Derek won the rushing title. And then we didn't hear anything from Floyd anymore about that. But this is 25 games.
It's an impressive streak, for sure. It's an impressive stretch.
I think that the running back position is like riding on his shoulders, like the future of it. The idea of, hey, can you win with a running back? If you can do it with Derrick Henry, then you can win with a running back. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Here on the program, we'll get to your reaction on this next. Your text and call 615-737-1025. Week 4 of the NFL season is here, and FanDuel Sportsbook wants you to get the most out of every play. That's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet every week. Thursday night, tonight, is a great opportunity to give it a try. All you have to do is bet a same-game parlay bet with 3 legs or more, and if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel Sportsbook will pay you back up to $10. Tonight, Tonight, Bengals and Jags, I'm going to say, take the Bengals on the money line. I'm going to say take the under 18.5 points for Jacksonville. And let's throw in there under on the passing yards for Joe Burrow, just because I think it's going to be a blowout and they're just not going to have Joe chuck it down the field. There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay, and you know that I love it on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Also, if you're new, you can claim your 30-1 odds on either team to win Sunday night between Tampa and New England. Just sign up with the promo code JGM, and if your first bet loses, you'll get up to $1,000 back in site credit. Promo code JGM. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same-game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile and web. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Titans, Jets. It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
When you purchase a certified pre-owned vehicle from Mercedes-Benz of Music City, you have the power of the star backing your car. To meet certification standards, a car has to be less than 6 years old with less than 75,000 miles. All certified vehicles come with 24/7 personal assistance and an extra 12-month unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get 1.99% financing for 36 months on select 2017 to 2019 certified models at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. See more at mbofmc.com.
Yo, it's Teron Davenport here to tell you about my friends at Freedom Tire Guys. They're Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and they do it all. New tires, balance, rotation, everything. Bill, a recent customer of theirs, loved the way they came to him and saved him time and money. So if you're like Bill, you like convenience, and you need some new tires, check out FreedomTireGuys.com. If you don't see the tires you like, give them a call, and they'll find them for you. Check them out today at FreedomTireGuys.com.
The 2021 Major League Soccer season isn't over yet, Nashville. Are you in? There are just 2 regular season home matches remaining as we make our final push for a playoff spot. Don't miss the action on Wednesday, October 20th at 7:30 p.m. against the Columbus Crew. Or catch the last regular season match of the season on Sunday, November 7th at 2:30 p.m. against New York Red Bulls at Nissan Stadium. Come be a part of the most unique sports experience in Nashville. Tickets are on sale now from just $22 at NashvilleSC.com. Everyone in.
Bring everything up to speed with the Novatech Managed Office. Novatech's Managed Office portfolio consists of 4 key pillars that provide a unique, holistic approach to business technology, bringing together hardware, software, and services for IT, print, cloud, and security. Novatech's mantra: get it all, get it right, and get it now. From a technology partner you can trust. Let Novatech manage your business technology so you can focus on what matters most, your business. Learn more about the Novatech Managed Office and request a free Office X-ray technology assessment at novatech.net. That's novatech.net.
Tune in every Monday at 8 a.m. and Friday at 3:15 to hear News 2's Corey Curtis take on all things Nashville sports, including the week's NFL games. All brought to you by Invigorate Health in Mount Juliet. Look and feel your best with IV therapy, medical weight loss, testosterone, body shaping, and more.
This Sunday, Henny Mukhtar and Nashville Soccer Club hits the road again for an Eastern Conference match against New York City FC. Coverage begins at 10:45 on ESPN 94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Derek's workload, because so much of the offense runs through him. How do you balance that with trying to keep him fresh for the whole season?
I think we'll just try to do, what's best for Derek, what's best for the football team, and try to do everything we can to win, and then, recover and try to have a plan as we work through the season.
Mike Vrabel sounds like he's in a good mood.
Yeah, he's just super jolly on that beautiful Wednesday.
Whatever's in the best interest of the team. 25. Let me say this.
I feel like I've heard that before.
Max out the credit card, baby. I get it. People are worried, if you give Derrick Henry a lot of carries, then with Derrick, then screw it. Max out the credit card. You're committed to Derrick for this year, and you can get out of it at the end of this year, which I don't think you're going to. I think you're going to pay Derrick for next year. And then you've got Derrick, I believe, for the next year, or you can get out of it after that. And guess what? You're probably, if he keeps running the way he's running, you're probably going to keep doing it the way you're doing it now. So, at this point, max it out. You want to give him the ball 38 times a game? Give it to him 38 times a game. I am not worried about it. Now, if there was like a Thursday night game upcoming, or this were like that scenario where they didn't play him against the Saints at the end of the 2019 season, okay, I understand that. But now, this is the prime of his career. He's the star of your team. Give him the football. Let's get to your text, 615-737-1025. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Gary checks in and says, does having a 17th game this year mean that he needs to go more than 2,000 yards?
No.
I think that's going to be interesting, though, the way that people look at the 17th game in terms of stats.
No. So I think if he rushes for 2,000 yards this season, there will be a discussion if he does it in 17 games. Which he probably would do in 17. I doubt he would do it in 16 games. If he rushes for 2,000 yards this year in 17 games, then I feel comfortable that there will be an argument that will be had. Mm-hmm. It'll be like when Roger Maris hit 61 home runs. And it was like, well, he's got to hit, number 59, which I think would have been the record. He's got to hit number 60, which would have been the record, by the time that Babe Ruth, by like game 154, because Babe Ruth only played 154 games in a season, and Maris was playing 162. And so I think Maris tied Ruth through 154, but he didn't break Ruth through 154. And so they always put an asterisk by Roger Maris's 61 home runs. Now, baseball was a sport where they care about old-time records way more than football. Football, they don't care. Football, who played 14 games? Who played, 16 games. So I don't think they care that much about in the NFL. But I think for a little bit there would be a discussion of like, well, does Derek's back-to-back 2,000 not count as much that nobody's ever done it because nobody else has had a 17th game? But I think like for the history books, I think they'd get over that real quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think that, again, like Derek won the rushing title, I believe, last year or the year before that with like 1,700 yards. So most guys, you give them 17 games, they won't get to 2,000. You may get a couple more backs like a decade that'll get to 2,000 than before, but I don't think that you're going to have like every year there be a 2,000-yard rusher. So, no, I think long-term this won't knock Derek. I think in the short term, there will be some people that knock Derek, and there will be some people that are like, dude, it's 2,000 yards in the NFL.
Ben Texan, kind of talking about our conversation about some of the stars in the game. How there may be some stars who aren't necessarily putting up the biggest stats. But Ben says there are more stars in the game now because social media and everything. It's not like it used to be. Most teams used to have one star or none or maybe two. Now most teams that are good have more than a handful of stars. Not his fault, but he has more to compete with now.
I just think it's Derek's I think it's the team that Derek went to, the Titans, and I think it's Derek's personality. You know, I mean, Derek's personality.
It's not flashy.
He's not, and he doesn't want to be. And so I think there's something to this, right? Like, we all know the cliche or the stereotype of the superstar athlete that's got the entourage, and somebody in the entourage is like, hey, dude, they're not doing you right. They should be marketing you more. You should be on every Pepsi commercial. You should be on. And I just don't think that Derek buys into that. That's just not his MO. I was impressed and kind of surprised that Derek is on the intro of Sunday Night Football. You know, they put the best players in the Sunday Night Football intro, and Derek's there, which he should be. He rushed for 2,000 yards. I think the bigger thing is, if Derek was more eccentric, would he be an MVP candidate?
Why wouldn't he be?
Well, he's not now. I mean, I guess candidate, he was talked about briefly last year at the end of the year, and then the Green Bay game happened, and then it was kind of like, forget about him. But, I mean, if you were to say, okay, who are the top 5 MVP guys, you'll have 3 quarterbacks. Then maybe, I don't think Derek would make it into the top 5 right now, just off the top of the head of like a normal national person. But Derek's not eccentric.
Is Lamar Jackson eccentric?
Lamar Jackson plays quarterback.
Okay, fair.
But I'm talking about, like, if Odell Beckham did the things that Derrick Henry's doing, they discuss it all the time. If Derrick Henry played for the Cowboys, if he was Ezekiel Elliott, and Ezekiel Elliott was doing the things Derrick Henry was doing, he'd be in the discussion for him.
But that's so incredibly frustrating.
But that's how it works.
I know that's how it is.
And like
I don't like it.
Paul Kaharski and Joe Rexrode will tell you this, and I completely disagree with them, that like market size doesn't matter for this stuff. And I think it just because you can pull an example of a guy who is in a small market that is a big superstar player, or a guy in a small market that won a Super Bowl, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Doesn't mean that. And it's like, for example, Indianapolis is a small market. Like, it's a small market. Nobody ever thinks of Indianapolis as a big metropolitan American city. It's not
but
like
it's a big team.
Well, it's a big team back in the day for one reason.
Yes, Peyton Manning.
Right. And so Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison's in the Hall of Fame, Tony Dungy's in the Hall of Fame, Bill Polian's in the Hall of Fame, Edgerrin James is in the Hall of Fame, Reggie Wayne's going to get in the Hall of Fame. But I don't think Edgerrin James gets in the Hall of Fame if he played for, I don't know, the Bengals, because Corey Dillon's not in the Hall of Fame. Or if he played for the Jags, because Fred Taylor is not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I talked to a player who played on the Titans last week who played in all those good. He said Fred Taylor's best running back he's ever played against.
Wow.
And every year, Fred Taylor gets overlooked for the Hall of Fame. And so Derek is, on one of those teams. And so you don't get the love when you're on that team. And again, Joe will tell you that it doesn't matter. I think it totally matters. And I think that Derek's personality, it's not the only thing that matters, but I think Derek's personality is a big part of that. I mean, I think there's so many things that are important. 1, do you have the superstar stats? 2, are you on a good team consistently? 3, are you on a big team consistently? The Cowboys, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Packers. Are you on one of those teams? I think another thing, are you a marketable person? And Derek is marketable enough, but like Derek is not going to do Oreo commercials like Peyton Manning. Derek's not a pitch man. Derek Jeter, for example, had all of those things. Derek Jeter was a great player, was on a great team, won a lot, incredibly marketable. And so his popularity soared. People are talking about, is Derek Jeter one of the greatest Yankees ever? No! He's not Ruth. He's not Gehrig. Look at the stats. Derek Jeter's a great player. I have all the respect in the world for Derek Jeter. But he's not Ruth. He's not Gehrig. He's not DiMaggio. He's not Mantle. He's not as good as those guys. He's not as big as Michael Jordan or Tom Brady or Tiger Woods or those guys. But there are some people that can convince themselves in that Derek Jeter is because he checks all those boxes. Derrick Henry doesn't necessarily check all the boxes. But again, over the last 25 games, he's the best running back the NFL's ever had.
And if you have back-to-back 2,000-yard rushing seasons, something that nobody has ever done before, I think that speaks more than whatever you could do on a commercial or on social media.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back to your phones next, 615-737-1025. And is Derrick Henry, again, is Derrick Henry going to get the due that he deserves? And if he does run for 2,000 yards again, is he an MVP candidate? Should he be an MVP candidate right now? We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Support Stars on Saturday, October 16th by running, walking, or boogieing the Nashville Striders' 21st annual Shelby Bottoms Boogie 15K and 5K run/walk at Shelby Bottoms Park. This event is perfect for the avid runner as well as the casual jogger, or show your support and participate virtually. For more information, visit starsnashville.org. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Partly cloudy this afternoon, high temperature up to 86 degrees. Very small storm chances, mainly west of Nashville. Most folks stay dry today.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, this is Jared, the owner of MTGRT.com. If your mortgage rate is not in the twos, then you need to call me now. We are locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. That's right, you heard it right. Locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. Text me on my personal cell at 615-969-2257 or fill out a few pieces of information on our website, MTGRT.com. MTGRT.com is the proud sponsor of Paul Feinbaum, heard on 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Ever shop for a diamond only to have the jeweler tell you he doesn't have what you're looking for in stock, but he can get one brought in for you in a few days?
They hear it again and again. Oh, I don't have it. I can get it for you. Give me a few days, see what I have for you. Let me call my dealer.
That's Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon, who says when you hear that, you're in the wrong place.
When you go to other places and they don't have it in stock, that means this is not their specialty. Why do you want to go to a restaurant and wait for them to order the food from somebody else?
But at Genesis, they do specialize in diamonds, and they have them. Thousands, all shapes, all sizes, all in stock, every day.
We're ready for you. You want to come and get a 3-carat, 4-carat, 1-carat? We have them in stock because we sell them.
Genesis Diamonds.
We have one of the largest selection in the country.
Where diamonds are not a side business, it is their business.
That's what we think, breathe, and sleep.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
Paul Feinbaum here for the Southeast leader for cranes and equipment rental, CraneWorks. The CraneWorks team in Nashville, Birmingham, and Mobile is ready to make your next construction or maintenance project a big success. Give CraneWorks a call for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project. And don't forget, RentalWorks has a full line of rental equipment for jobs both big and small, and now offering qualified operators for all equipment, including aerial and earth-moving equipment. Call CraneWorks at 877-282-LIFT or visit them on the web at craneworks.com.
What if you could build a 6-figure retirement income in just 5 payments? You heard right. In just 5 payments, set up a 6-figure retirement cash flow for as long as you live. There's a retirement crisis in America because the pension system of old has been raided and destroyed, and Social Security is already running out of money. Most Americans are shocked to find out they need over $2.5 million to have $100,000 in retirement. A new approach is required to solve this crisis. That's why this revolutionary 5-pay retirement program was released, allowing everyday Americans to use bank money to create a retirement cash flow without relying on Social Security or pensions. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it accelerates the amount they'll have at retirement or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you're over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement in just 5 payments, call Wealth Education Group now at 800-375-3232 to see if you qualify for this brand new program. Plus, as a free bonus, you'll get the 5-pay retirement guide and video. Call 800-375-3232, 1-800-375-3232, 1-800-375-3232.
Darren McFarland.
That should get you in the mood for a game tonight.
Willie Donick.
I think between 5.5 and 6 is probably in the ballpark.
Chase McCabe.
Typically, I like to take the most difficult task and do it first.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Curacion CBD on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Tune into the NFL Game of the Week on ESPN 94.9, brought to you by Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue. The NFL Game of the Week, the Steelers take on the Packers. Sunday kickoff set for 3:25. You know that everybody across the country is going to get this game except for 3 markets.
Really?
Yep.
What markets?
Denver.
Okay.
Because the Broncos are playing.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore, because the Ravens are playing. And Louisville, Kentucky, because they are going to take Bridgewater versus Lamar Jackson over the Steelers in the Packers, which is the right call.
That is, yes. I feel like people in Louisville are more concerned about that.
Oh, sure. It's like when you look at a game like, and I haven't looked at the TV map for this, I bet you it would not surprise me if this game is shown in Utah.
Yeah, and that's like last year, you could get any Bengals game in the state of Louisiana.
Yeah.
Because they knew that people are going to be watching.
It was weird when Mariota was the quarterback. Like the Titans, Raiders, noon kickoff, Nashville, Bay Area, Oregon,
yeah.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like every time. Let's go to your phones on Derrick Henry, 615-737-1025. Again, if you're just joining us, the stat today, Derrick Henry over his last 25 games. And it's funny, too, because the Indianapolis game, like I was all in my pants about how good Derrick Henry played. And I didn't hear like the fans. It wasn't like nobody was saying Henry played poorly or anything like that. He had 120-something yards or 113 yards or something like that, and he added more in the pass game. But the fans are just like, yeah, Henry was great, but not like, oh, Derrick Henry. But in all seriousness, I thought Derrick Henry was, Derrick Henry.
But I think some people have just gotten so used to Derrick Henry being
Don't
so
get
dominant.
used to Derrick Henry. In the last 25 games, Derrick Henry's 3,276 rushing yards are the best ever of any 25-game stretch ever in the history of the NFL. Let's go to Alan, who's up next here on Stillman and Company and has been waiting patiently. Thank you, Alan. You're up next on Derrick Henry running for 2,000 yards.
All right. So I understand that I have put way more thought into the fact about the whole getting credit for the 2,000 yards. And to briefly hit on, so I don't think that we've gotten used to Derrick Henry, and I agree with you, we shouldn't get used to him doing that. But what we have done is we've gotten more patient with him. Like, we don't get so pissed off when he runs early because we know what we're going to get in the second half. Like, he's proven that you stick with him, he's going to produce results. So, having said that, if you're really going to judge him on 16 games, can you not? Which one is the extra game? Like, I would say it shouldn't necessarily be the 17th game that you take out. It should be.
See, I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody is judging him on 17 games. On 16 games.
Well, but I mean, if you beat it, you really want to have that argument. Like, if he rushes for 20,
the argument's going to happen.
100 games.
The argument's going to happen. Thank you, Alan. The argument's going to happen. Here's the thing. I don't think that stats in the NFL are not as sacred as they are in baseball. Like, stats in basketball don't even exist, right? Except for like crazy things like Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game.
And it's like on a nightly basis, like your triple-double here, your 40-something points here, and you may talk about it the rest of the season, but it's not used as it is in baseball.
Like in basketball, I don't even know how many points you have to have that automatically get you in the Hall of Fame. In baseball, I know 500 home runs, 300 wins, 3,000 hits. Those things get you into the Hall of Fame in baseball. And
in baseball, your stats are attached to your name. If you're a pitcher, your ERA, your batting average.
Well, it's just how much they care about stats in baseball. Like, they don't care about stats like that.
It's a stat-driven sport.
And so in the NFL, I don't even know if there will be an argument if Derrick Henry rushes for 2,000 again. If he rushes for 2,000 again, I don't think you'll see a panel on ESPN where it's like, what do we think about this, Teddy Bruschi? Does Derrick Henry's 2,000 yards count because he did it in 17 games? I don't think that's the case. And while we're on this discussion, Derrick Henry won the rushing title in 2019, and he missed, I think, the second to last game of the season. And so he did that in 15 games, and nobody ever talked about that. And so I keep going back to this idea that the stats, I don't think there's going to be this huge kerfuffle over, well, he did it in 17 games instead of 16 games. I think if you were to talk about breaking a record, Eric Dickerson's record, I don't even know what Eric Dickerson's record is. I want to say Derrick Henry was something like 20 yards off of Eric Dickerson's record last year. That might be the one where people start to get worked up. So if Derrick ends up surpassing Eric Dickerson, but he does it in 17 games, which he's not on pace to do. But if he were to do that, 2105. Is that right, Ian?
For Dickerson, yep.
2105. So if Derrick goes into week 17, let's say he's got 2,000 yards. Derrick is at 2,060.
Okay.
Derrick picks up 60 more yards in week 17 against, I think it's the Texans. Derrick picks up 60 more yards in week 17, comes out of the game. He's got 2,200 yards. Do you think, or I guess that would be 2,120. Yeah. 2,120. Do you think people on TV or in the national media would be like, well, it doesn't count because Eric Dickerson did that in 16 games?
I think that you're going to have some people that are going to be incredibly nitpicky, but I think as a whole, it will not be a problem. But I think that there are some people that may view that with an asterisk.
By the way, how about this nugget? And we've talked about how Matt Eberflus does not allow 100-yard rushers except Derrick Henry. In the last 35 games, the Colts have not allowed a 100-yard rusher not named Derrick Henry. He has done it to them 4 times.
Wow.
4 times. TD is up next, the TD Power Hour. We'll get TD's thoughts, obviously, on Derrick Henry, and his thoughts on the Titans as a whole, and his thoughts on the AJ and Julio injuries, and his thoughts on the Jets and Jaguar games upcoming. And as always, your questions for TD at the end of the hour, 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, we're delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Take us wherever you may go.
There are 2 guys on my untouchable list.
Tune us in anywhere, anytime.
Every team's got those. That's my point.
Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Lately, we've been getting a lot of calls and questions about acoustic wave therapy for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. This is a relatively new treatment for ED, but one we've been using for years. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're looking at acoustic wave therapy or any option to help your ED, it's worth a visit to check us out. Our wave therapy protocols use acoustic wave technology, but often also combine it with other treatments that can give most of our patients far higher satisfaction rates. There is no surgery nor any type of invasive procedures required, and while most clinics you hear about only offer sound wave treatments, with our urologist and provider's guidance, you can likely have sex the day after your appointment and experience fewer letdowns. With another one of our ED treatments, you can last up to an hour and a half, and our expertise in treating these issues means you'll get the results you want. So make your appointment today. We'll show you why our acoustic wave program is the better way to do wave therapy. Call us today at 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra, results vary.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing. Social Furniture on the West Side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box store. Shop local, shop social.
It's football season, and Social Furniture has the best lifetime guarantee motion furniture on sale now. Their sofas with recliners are push-button electric and wall-away with all colors to choose from for your comfort. Sectionals from $9.99, recliners from $3.99. Sectionals with Chase Lounge and all-electric recliners from $19.99. Social Furniture will have you football ready with all furniture that are plus leather, microfiber, and there's no waiting, and take home your new motion furniture today or with their same-day fine furniture delivery. Social Furniture has no down payments and no interest. You don't want to miss out on their best lifetime guarantee motion furniture sale going on now.
Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Your home value is way up this year, and with mortgage rates back to all-time lows, it's a great time to call Loan Pronto. Refinance now and get cash out of your home's equity. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Loan Pronto can refinance your loan at a super low rate. They can pay the closing costs for you and get you a bunch of cash out. How does $40,000 or $50,000 sound? Don't just sit on that home's new value. Use it. Use it to pay off credit cards. Use it to consolidate other debt. Pronto's all-digital platform makes it fast and easy. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call Loan Pronto. LoanPronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166178.
Our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram. 97.5 Murfreesboro. WBUZ HD2 Laverne. Online at theGameNashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman.
TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, thanks to the law office of Amanda Gentry. It's time now for the TD Power Hour, presented by FreedomTireGuys.com and Craneworks and RentalWorks. FreedomTireGuys.com, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at FreedomTireGuys.com. Craneworks and RentalWorks, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit Craneworks.com. TD, I know you saw the Derrick Henry stat this morning. Oh, my goodness. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing really well, man. It was great to get to go watch practice today, and we're going to keep this thing rolling, man. It's week 4. Whiteboard Wednesday is up. I got some stuff on ESPN.com, man. I'm feeling good.
I mean, clearly, and I when I woke up, we were talking about the Derrick Henry stat. The one of the last 25 games, Derrick Henry's 32-76 is the best of any 25-game stretch in the history of the NFL. And I'm trying to get, I guess, put that into context in terms of, like, what does that mean? You know, and I guess, you know, I don't want to sound crazy or anything off the top rope, but I almost feel like maybe we aren't appreciative of how good he's been, of what we're seeing. Because I think the fans are appreciative and we know how dominant he's been. But, I mean, honestly, when I saw that number, I was floored that not Jim Brown, not Emmitt Smith, not Walter Payton, not Barry Sanders, nobody has done what he's done over the last 25 games. What's your thought on that?
Well, that's exactly the case. You kind of just take it for granted because, I mean, you look every week, you're getting some type of stat where he's in the mention with Eric Dickerson, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, as you just said, and Barry Sanders, and even his teammates, right? Ryan Tannehill was like, oh, man, that's just Derrick. And it's just crazy to me that it continues to happen just week after week where there's some type of crazy stat that you could pull about what he's done, and we all just like, oh, yeah, you know, that's how it works. He keeps going and going and going, and I thought it was funny today. He was asked about the workload, and he was like, man, I'm not concerned with that, man. I just go out there, and line up and play ball.
I mean, Derrick Henry, to your point, TD, 113 on the ground against Indianapolis, 31 through the air on 3 catches, and it's like, it's about 140, 150 yards for Derrick Henry, and we're all sitting here, it's a good game for Derrick. That's not normal, what he does on a week-in and week-out basis. And I think the one thing you brought up, the fact that Tannehill in back-to-back weeks has been at what we've seen out of Derrick Henry the last 3 years and what we're seeing right now, and say, man, we got to cover just pure greatness for how long Derrick was able to do that.
Yeah, it's one of the best stretches that I've seen out of a running back. But the thing that's really cool about all of this is it goes beyond just what you see on the football field. You know, Monday I got the pleasure of going and meeting with Derrick as he handed out gift card, 1,500 backpacks with supplies put in them for these kids, because their goal was to get up to 5,000 backpacks donated. They were at about 3,500. He put the 1,500 to make it official. But then on top, there wasn't really any media there. I was the only one there just because it was a part of a project that I was working on. But he does this type of thing without the intentions of having a whole lot of spotlight and everything put on. He does it out of the genuine just kindness of his heart, right? And the connection that he has with the fans. So I think when you see all of this, you got a guy just dominating on the football field. You got a guy who's just so close to the fans. I mean, you're looking in Baltimore, right after the divisional game in 19. He's running around slapping everybody's hand on the lower bowl. That he still just has that same humble approach, and he just keeps out just going and just working and just putting the work in and coming back each and every week and doing what he does.
TD, do you think he's fairly appreciated around the country? I mean, you are the guy who is, if nothing else, probably the closest connection between us here in Nashville and, the largest sports media company in the country at ESPN. And I think everybody recognizes Derek is the best running back and Derek is a great player. And yet they don't talk about Derek a lot on TV. MVP conversations, where does Derek fit in there? Do you think he gets appreciated enough for what he does on the field?
Him, expand his game to catching passes and to pass pro and those type of things. I don't think he does get the national attention. In fact, I know for a fact he doesn't because, we have a process that we go through as far as pitching news and those type of things. And, it has to be a heck of a thing in order to be accepted for any Titans news. But especially, for Derrick Henry, he's a guy that he's one of those ones where I don't care what happens. If his name is associated with something, that should be news, right? That should be on ESPN.com. But that's not always the case. Like, it's different from your Tom Brady's, right, where, if the guy coughs like I just did on while I was trying to talk, it's Sports Center is in Tampa, and they're doing a special on it. And I think it's different for certain players, and I don't think he gets the attention he deserves at all because, I don't really think people fully grasp what we're seeing right now. We are seeing a guy do stuff that no one has done before. And the crazy thing about it is everyone knows that he's coming week after week after week after week. They're preparing to stop this man, and they still can't.
Pete Carroll's a defensive coach, and Pete Carroll's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. And Pete Carroll said, you were there, TD. Pete Carroll said after the game, our goal was to stop him. And he had 188 rushing. That's our goal was to stop him. And he single-handedly, well, not single-handedly, but he took over the game. And that stat really knocked me on my rear end. You're right, though, TD. Like, everything that Derrick Henry does, like in my seat where you do 4 hours a day, if there's any kind of Derrick Henry news, which Derrick makes it incredibly hard because he doesn't ever say or do anything controversial. But, like, if there's any kind of Derrick Henry news, it's like, all right, get the Derrick Henry on there because the fans here love Derrick Henry and want to hear the Derrick Henry talk. And yet, around the country, Caroline and I were talking about, if he was a Dallas Cowboy doing what he's doing right now, they'd carry his press conferences live on TV, even though he doesn't say much in press conferences.
Yeah.
And I was listening. I was telling Caroline during the break, I was listening to an old Mike and the Mad Dog podcast. Now, I know you're familiar, obviously.
Mike and the Mad Dog.
With Mike and the Mad Dog. 2006, Derek Jeter didn't win the AL MVP. Justin Morneau did. And listening to Mike and the Mad Dog talk, you would have thought it was a crime that Derek Jeter didn't win the MVP that year, and Justin Morneau of the Twins did. And I think about that, and I'm like, with Derek back than Derrick Henry. And then it's like, whoa. But to your point, TD, I think that when these MVP lists come out,
he needs to be on there. That's really the bottom line. He needs to be on there, but he's not because he's not a quarterback. And as you mentioned, he's not an eccentric personality.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of the pass catching that's in his game? Look, it's not sexy. It's not McCaffrey. It's not Kamara. But they're now designing pass plays for him. And not just screens, but they put him out wide the other day.
Yeah.
And Tannehill got him the football. And you could tell Todd Downing, who's come under a lot of fire. I don't know why the fans don't like Todd Downing right now. I think jury is still out on Downing. But I give credit to Downing of saying, hey, let's get the matchup we want man for man with Derek outside. Throw him the ball and let him beat that one guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You get him the ball, you don't use the cliche, you get him the ball in space, you allow him to make things happen. And you pointed to that. And that's also why the screen game is important. But then you're also seeing just the check down option, right? If everything is covered down the field, you could just take your eyes and, touchdown and check down. That's how you go through it, right? That's the saying. But you could just check it right down, and that's what Tannehill's doing. And you saw it in the Seattle game where he just continued to get, a 6-yard gain here, 5-yard gain there, 6-yard gain. And then that kept the down and distance very manageable, and now your playbook is open. So, yeah, absolutely, he's beginning to get more involved there. And it's pretty cool to see the work that he does during the practice week, start to show up and pay off on game day.
TD's with us for the TD Power Hour, 615-737-1025. Get your questions in for TD. Coming up next, what does TD think about the Titans through 3 games? We all know September football can be kind of funky here and there. What does he think about them through 3 games? And the injuries, AJ, Julio, Bud Dupree.com, and Craneworks and RentalWorks. Plus, we've got a Titans injury, I don't want to say injury watch, but we've got Sharks at Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday, October 26th. Head over to YouTube and subscribe to 1025 The Game's YouTube page, and you'll enter for your chance to see the Preds take on the Sharks. Once you subscribe, email us at promotions@cromwellmedia.com with your YouTube handle. One winner will be chosen on...
Gets the Predators' third of the night.
Nashville Predators training camp is underway.
The Nashville Predators back in action.
We're closing in on the new season.
You still have some really good pieces and some young players that were really good last year.
And your only home for coverage of the Preds is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Panera believes in saying yes to things, like the new sausage and pepperoni flatbread, crafted with rich cheeses. Order on the app today. Panera, live your yes. Restrictions apply.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact tractors. Rated #1 for reliability in the under 100 horsepower category, they're designed for easy operation and feature performance-matched attachments. Right now, put 0 down and get 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $1,400. Now through December 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Football is back, and Electronic Express has what you need to make the game bigger than ever. Bring the stadium to you with the best in-home entertainment from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. Watching the game on the go? Save big on laptops, tablets, and headphones. Plus, we have all your appliance needs up to 50% off, and get up to 36 months free financing. We've got you covered this football season at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Men, what if I told you that now you're able to get testosterone replacement therapy in the comfort of your own home? No more weekly trips to the doctor's office. We come to you 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Be seen by a licensed medical professional in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You decide. Schedule your appointment today at CoolSpringsMDformen.com.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the Callaway Apex Trade-In event running now through October 31st. Bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% trade-in bonus towards new Apex 21 irons. The Apex, Apex Pro, and Apex DCB are designed with artificial intelligence for faster ball speeds. Swing by and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Fall is here, and that means the cold winds of winter are coming. It's a great time to replace those old, drafty windows. Pella is the leader in the industry for top-quality window and door products. But Pella Windows and Doors are also affordable, extremely affordable. Pella has payment plans less than $95 a month to replace your windows. So, I suggest you purchase your windows and doors from the experts at Pella of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Hey. Hey. Nice tailgate setup. Thanks. Dos Equis? Sure. Really hits the spot. Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, I hope your team never wins as long as I'm alive. Same to you.
A dose of respect. Brought to you by Dos Equis, proud sponsor of college football. Get a dose. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Copyright 2021. Imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
AJ's injury, is it a good thing that, that's a position that you're kind of deep in this year? I mean, there's been years past this franchise has not been able to go as deep when one or two guys are maybe on the injury report.
Well, I think what we try to do is try to insulate ourselves everywhere for a lot of things that come up. I mean, player availability fluctuates throughout the season, and so hopefully, everybody that shows up for meetings and comes to practice can understand that they could potentially have a role in the game.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel talking about injuries. We know A.J. Brown with a hamstring. A.J. Brown did not practice today with that hamstring. Bud Dupree did not practice with the knee. Caleb Farley did not practice with the shoulder. Julio Jones did not practice with the hamstring. Taylor Lewan did return to practice. Brett Kern did not practice with a groin injury, and they have signed a punter, Johnny Townsend. That, I think, is a concern. And Derrick Henry, the hula skirts and the giant leaves and just kind of wave down Derrick Henry while he sits and observes practice. I'd be okay with that, too. But what do we think of the injury situation, Teron? I mean, you're out there at practice. AJ and Julio both dealing with hamstring injuries. A lot of people are suggesting, you know what, give it the Jets game. See if you can beat the Jets without those two guys. What do you make of the situation?
Yeah, well, I tell you this. We got to talk to Josh Reynolds today, and he just seemed like he had a quiet energy that he's ready to unleash. So that was a good thing. You know, I asked him about just Hill, and he said you just take it one day at a time. He said he's a full go. Just, you know, there's no limitation. So I think this is a week. And, oh, by the way, he also said he could see himself getting an opportunity this week. So I think this is when you'll get to see Josh Reynolds and just what he's capable of doing. But, I mean, we didn't see A.J. Brown. We didn't see Julio Jones. It's a hamstring. And that's one of those things where really the best thing for that is rest. You get the electronic stimulation and those type of things, but you just have to be careful with those injuries because you could even feel like you're good, and then you go out there, and next thing you know, you're looking like Ricky and from Boys in the Hood, you know, when they shot him. You know what I mean? So you just got to be careful just how you go about with that hamstring thing because it could creep back up on you. So really the best thing, you rest it, and I think that's why we'll probably not see A.J. Brown and Julio Jones this week.
The one thing that bothers me, though, is I think that if they're both dealing with hamstrings, I wouldn't expect to see them, especially A.J., and that is, as Adam Schefter reported, a week-to-week kind of thing. But, rest these guys because it's the Jets. And I struggle with that, TD. And, look, I know the Jets are lousy. But I struggle with that because I just don't think that that's how, like, a Vrabel guy or a Belichick guy I just don't think that that's how those football people view football. I think they view the Jets as a team that has NFL players, and the last thing you want to do is go in there cocky and think you can beat the Jets and then all of a sudden get embarrassed like the Titans did at Cincinnati last year.
Yeah, and that's exactly I was going to ask you if you remember when they played the Bengals last year. So, yeah, you're right on point there. I think really it's not a matter of resting them because it's you know, the tougher part of your schedule. I mean, once week 6 rolls around, you got 5 consecutive games that are all tough ones, including as important as you have made it out to be, you know, these games against the Colts. You know, so there's another one against the Colts. You got the Chiefs. You got, I mean, there's a lot of teams, you know, and a lot of top-tier teams. So you want to be full go for those. Obviously, you want to be full go every week. But the point is you don't want this thing to spiral into something bigger. And, again, it goes back to what I said. Best thing for hamstring is a rest. So this is a good – and you still have Josh Reynolds waiting in the you know, background. And Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is a guy that they continue to – you know, like and bring along, and they love his verse downs. You know what I mean? He scored one of them, and then his drawing the pass interference set up the Jeremy McNichols one. So there are some options. You know, they love Cam Batson as well. Is this something that should make, you know, Jeff Ulbrich or Robert Saleh, you know, the defensive coordinator, still, this will allow Tannehill to continue to, you know, spread the football around, and this team is just going to have to find a way to win. That's really the bottom line. How below than it's been. I mean, this is a guy that point blank they rely on him. He's the engine for that offense, and it all revolves around him. So I don't think it's going to be any bigger.
Titans take on the Jets. Bud Dupree missing practice. I was listening to you on Darren Donick and Chase the other day, TD, and you were saying, hey, I know he's posting videos on Instagram of him walking on the leg and working out on the leg, but we got to be careful about the Bud Dupree ACL injury. He didn't play last week against the Colts. My guess is they didn't want him to play but would have, as Vrabel said, in an emergency, or maybe if the game was close and they felt like they needed him. I am in favor of making sure that knee's okay because I think the Titans are probably going to make the playoffs, so you want to make sure that you got Bud Dupree ready to go when you need Bud Dupree. But Ola Adeniyi gives the Titans a little bit of time to make sure Bud Dupree's healthy. How do you feel about kind of the ramp up, and then kind of they're ramping it down, and then they're probably going to have to ramp him back up, and what that timeline may look like for Bud Dupree.
Yeah, I think the ramp-up period, he didn't seem comfortable running. I'll put it that way. And it seemed like, there was a little bit of an issue there. I'm no doctor, right? Like I can't watch a guy and say that something is definitely wrong, but I could watch a guy and tell you that he's not running naturally. And that's not what Bud Dupree was doing, running naturally. So when you look at that and you just look at the full picture of the injury itself, as you mentioned, I've been pretty strong on my stance that you're not going to really see the full Bud Dupree for the first couple months of the season. That's just the bottom line. I have fortunately never had to go through a torn ACL, but I've talked to so many people that have, and you know how the deal works. It's typically that second year, but as you're working into that second year, and make him push it a little bit further than he needs to right now, because that gives him time to go ahead and allow it to recover. And that's what I asked Coach Vrabel about, just where Dupree is. And he said it was just the way he's recovering from games, from practice. That's really what they're monitoring now. And that, in my opinion, is why you're not seeing him practice as much, because that recovery may not be as clean as they would like it to be. And, again, it goes back to what I said about watching him run. It's not natural.
I would say that the two things that I would compare this to, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, because it is different positions, but when Jack Conklin got hurt at the end of the 2018 season, or the 2017 season, Conklin was considered one of the best right tackles in the game. And when he came back the next year, there was a lot of talk about, okay, Conklin took 4 games off, and then Conklin came back, and Conklin wasn't the same. And then all of a sudden, once Conklin got back in the rhythm, he was one of the more dominant right tackles in the NFL again. And Jonnu Smith suffered a big injury at the end of the season, I believe at the end of the 2018 season. And it probably wasn't until October, November of 2019 that Jonnu Smith really grew into being a true number 1 tight end. And I wonder if that should be probably more of the timeline, to your point, and your point kind of all along about Bud Dupree.
Well, yeah, that's typically how it works, man. And I think you have phases of this. You have the rehab, right, or the surgery, the rehab, and then you have the mental part of it, and I think that's important. And then you have the comfort level, and then you have the recovery, and that's pretty much, in my opinion, where Dupree is. And it was good that you mentioned Conklin, because the Titans, a guy who hindsight is 2020, they probably felt like they should have signed. You know what I mean? But you didn't get to see the Jack Conklin that really he was capable of being, because he was still working through that injury.
What do you make of – we'll get to the defense in just a second. What do you make of the injury to Kern and the Titans bringing in a punter? And the only reason I ask this, TD, is because we all learned last year that just bringing in a punter when Brett Kern gets hurt is not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, that was a tough situation, man, that Colts game. But, yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds. And you really get to see just how valuable Kern is to this team. And it's a right groin injury, if you notice that on the injury report. And that's one thing that we were told today. When it's a kicker or a quarterback or punter, you do have to designate which side, left or right. But in this case with Kern, it's tough, because he's a guy that's so big of a part of the way this team plays football, right? The field positioning, right? He'll flip the field for you in an instant. He only punted once against the Jets. They may not need to have as many punts, especially considering how bad this team has played, leading up to this point. So a guy like Kern out there, a guy who Dean Pease jokingly referred to as a defensive MVP.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think that the idea of not punting would probably be the one that Mike Vrabel would vote for, too, on Sunday if he got that option. TD with us, 615-737-1025. One thing that TD nailed in the preseason, Christian Fulton. We got to get TD's thoughts on the defense and Fulton, as well as his thoughts on the Jets. You can get your questions for TD, and we'll take at the bottom of the hour, 615-737-1025. The TD Power Hour is presented by FreedomTireGuys.com and by Craneworks and RentalWorks. Caroline wants to tell all of you about BetUS.
I want to tell you about my official sports book, and that is BetUS. Football is back. We've even got a Thursday night game tonight, so get in on the action. BetUS has been America's favorite sportsbook for over 25 years, and that is exactly why I endorse BetUS, because they've been around a long time, they have integrity, they have longevity, and when you win on BetUS, you know that you are going to get paid. Plus, they offer live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, all kinds of crazy prop bets. Whatever you want to put money on, you can do that at BetUS. So call them today. They'll walk you through setting up an account. It is super easy. I've done it. All you have to do is just call 1-800-79-BET-US. That is 1-800-79-BET-US. Nobody in the industry gives bigger bonuses than BetUS. You can get up to 200% in bonuses. So if you mention game, you'll get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit. Nobody in the industry beats that. I bet at BetUS, so should you. Go now to BetUS.com. Join today. Put in promo code GAME for a sign-up bonus.
Time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi guys, it's Nick uses the most proven form of wave technology available. Clinically shown by Cambridge to open up and regrow blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, you'll qualify for an extra treatment free. This is an unheard of value worth hundreds of dollars. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic in the next 2 minutes to qualify for this unprecedented offer. 615-576-5000.
Screw the world. Made with real whiskey, peanuts, and peanut butter, Screwball is all natural flavor to be enjoyed as a straight shot in an espresso martini, peanut butter old fashioned, or a PB&J shot with a berry liqueur. Check out screwballwhiskey.com/recipes for more. Be sure and ask for Screwball by name at your favorite watering hole in Nashville.
Enjoy responsibly. 2021 Screwball Spirits LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Yo, it's Teron Davenport here to tell you about my friends at Freedom Tire Guys. They're Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and they do it all. New tires, balance, rotation, everything. Bill, a recent customer of theirs, loved the way they came to him and saved him time and money. So if you're like Bill, you like convenience, and you need some new tires, check out FreedomTireGuys.com. If you don't see the tires you like, give them a call, and they'll find them for you. Check them out today at FreedomTireGuys.com.
Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the game at 615-737-1025.
Tonight, the Nashville Sounds continue their road series up north against the Indianapolis Indians. Coverage begins at 5:50 on ESPN 94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
You mentioned after the game on Sunday, on the reverse side of things, you want more turnovers on defense. How do you approach that?
Same way we have since April. We'll add another period today, and we'll show it to them, and we'll teach the techniques, and we'll keep practicing it. And there's certain things that you can coach, and there's certain things that you can't. You know what I mean? Like I'm just, I go back to this. That Bill, God love him, never told me how to strip sack the quarterback. You guys just got to go, and we're reaching for it, and we got to keep going. We're close. Harold's close. Harold's had a couple close ones. And as long as I think that you're seeing the right examples, there's some times that we miss them. We miss those opportunities. So it's like trying to increase opportunities, right? So trying to increase the chances that we're hammering at it and saying, okay, that's a missed opportunity, tracking missed opportunities, showing them those missed opportunities for when, not to say that it would have come out, but at least, man, we're getting tickets to the raffle, trying to get as many chances as we possibly can.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel sounding very frustrated when it comes to the Titans' lack of turnovers. But other than that, Teron Davenport with us for the TD Power Hour presented by FreedomTireGuys.com and Craneworks and Rentalworks. TD, I think Titans' defense has been pretty good. And it's not like they've played the scrub quarterbacks. I mean, they played Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, and Carson Wentz, and those guys are legitimate starters in the NFL. And I think the defense is – I mean, we talked all offseason about the defense, all last year about the defense. TD, other than the turnovers, I think the defense has been pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the defense has been pretty good, but when you have one turnover and you're 0.3 turnovers per game, you know where 0.3 turnovers per game makes you where it falls? Dead last.
Dead last.
So anytime you're last in any category, you're always going to be upset about that. So I get where Coach Ray was coming from, especially when it's such a point of emphasis. I mean, you look through in the beginning of practice, right, they have ball disruption period, where during individual period, they're literally doing everything they can to create the habit of forcing turnovers. So for that to be solid, I will say that, outside of that Arizona game where, the Cardinals just kind of did what they wanted to do, I think overall you look at what they've been able to do just as far as on third downs, right? The Colts only converted, I think it was like 2 out of 12 or something along those lines, 2 out of 12 third down opportunities, but they were 2 for 2 on fourth downs. But, I mean, an area of focus. Guess what? It got better. And it was actually, looking at this, it was 3 out of 12. So you're talking 25%, which that cuts that nasty number from last year in half. So we're not just talking about inside the 20. We're talking about that low red zone, right, inside the 10-yard line. They only allowed 1 touchdown out of 3 visits into there. So those are some things to hang their hats on. But this defense could even be better if they're able to get more turnovers and give the offense more opportunities to score the football.
TD, I think that the reason the defense is better is twofold. One, I think Danico Autry has played a huge role in helping that entire defensive line. Ola Adeni has been great, in that situational pass rusher position. Landry's played awesome. I can't put my finger on it. Is it the better defensive line and pass rush, or is it the fact that Christian Fulton, who was injured last year, and I think or is it that line that is actually putting pressure on these quarterbacks? Because even though Kyler got away in week 1, I thought they put pressure on him. They definitely put pressure on Russell Wilson week 2, and Wentz was miserable in week 3.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said for the pass rush that we have complained about for a long time.
Why can't it be both? You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be one or the other. And I think that's really what it comes down to is you have better play from your back-end guys, better play from your front-end guys, and you're getting that pressure, right? The corners are starting to challenge a little bit more. I mean, look at Christian Fulton. You got this guy going against DK Metcalf and holding his own. And not only – look, DK Metcalf had more penalty yards than he had receiving yards. Think about that. He had more penalty yards than receiving yards against Christian Fulton. Christian Fulton has emerged as a legit cornerback. And, I mean, the guy has solid match skills. He has back to Ola Adeni and what he's able to do. I mean, when you got this guy coming off the edge and getting the pressure that he's getting, and Harold Landry coming off of one of his best games, you look at Jeffrey Simmons collapsing the pocket in the middle, David Long, the play that he's bringing, Dane Cruikshank. Did you see that blitz that Dane Cruikshank had, man?
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Taylor was like –
TD, I got to be honest with you
he
about
got blown up.
I got to be honest with you about Cruikshank. You've been talking about Cruikshank, when we say, okay, Hooker's going to move into the starting role, and you said, well, Cruikshank's there to – and I'm like, yeah, Cruikshank's been on special teams, and Cruikshank is, he's done some nice things over the years, but he's hurt, and I just don't think that's great defense, honestly, from the Titans to go quarters coverage and have Cruikshank or the week before Bradley McDougald on a number 1 wide receiver. But, I mean, Cruikshank has played great in 2 weeks of being out there in place of Amani Hooker. And that was something that you were kind of always mentioning. And I think everybody kind of like, okay, yeah, but, and I thought Cruikshank's been awesome.
Yeah, and it's in sub Lockett, bumping him inside, and then that got him matched up, and it's just the way it worked against that zone coverage. But, I mean, for me, it's sub packages with Cruikshank. I think that he is very well suited to play in space. He's probably their best option as a dime linebacker, right? And that's something that he did at Arizona. And you just look at just the package of size, speed, and just that he showed something on that blitz, right? Like he showed that sense of urgency. And when you combine all that together, that gives you a good option. Now, I'm not sure how much that'll come into play this week because, you're not going against Kyler Murray. You're not going against Russell Wilson. But I do think that they can go to those dime packages, like if they're able to get them into those third and long situations. And the thing with Cruikshank is he gives you some pass coverage ability, but he also allows you to play the run out of a sub package. And when you could do that and not be overly concerned about a team catching you.
TD, what do you think about the Jets? We were talking about the turnovers. They haven't gotten them so far. If they can't turn Zach Wilson over on Sunday, that may be a red flag. But what do you think about the Jets as a whole? And I guess the bigger question is just how bad are the Jets?
Yeah, as a whole, I mean, they have a lack of playmakers. Listen to what Corey Davis said the other day, right? He said that he's starting – I mean, think about this. You got defenses focusing on stopping Corey Davis. You know what I mean? And that's no knock on Corey Davis. He's a solid player, but – he's not a guy that you go into a game plan saying, we got to stop Corey Davis. But that's
Corey Davis is the good third amigo.
You know, where they are as far as the lack of playmakers are concerned on this team, right? And offense, I mean, they have zero rushing attack. What was a pretty solid running back. We had him on Talking with TD out of North Carolina. And you got Tevin Coleman. It's just not working. So when you can't run the football, you got a rookie quarterback who is kind of seeing ghosts and holding on to the ball a little bit long, and then a porous offensive line, a lack of weapons in the passing game, you're going to get outscored 46-3 in the first half. And that's what's happening with them. And then defensively, I mean, their best guy in the secondary, he's out of here, right? 3 to 4 weeks he's going to be missing. It's going to be a tough situation for them as far as the Titans.
TD, we'll get your questions now. 615-737-1025. Your questions with TD. We're right to them next. The TD Power Hour, presented by Freedom Tire Guys and Crane Works and Rental Works. So, again, get your questions in now. Calls and texts for off gift cards for Retro Snow, Fat Cat Slim, Central Barbecue, Joyland in East Nashville, and Bad Axe Throwing. Get your deals now while they last at theGameNashville.com/deals. Stillman & Company, ESPN 1025 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Partly cloudy this afternoon, high temperature up to 86 degrees. Very small storm chances, mainly west of Nashville. Most folks stay dry today.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Panera believes in saying yes to things like the new grilled mac and cheese sandwich featuring mac topped with Parmesan crisps. Get $1 delivery when you order on the app. Panera, live your yes. Restrictions apply.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it. Crane Works, Rental Works, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Crane Works is ready to help lift Nashville. As the Southeast's most trusted name in crane and equipment rental for over 30 years, Crane Works offers certified operators to make sure the job is done right. Rental Works has a diverse fleet of equipment to assist in any project, big or small. From forklifts to carry deck cranes, they have it all. When it's time for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project, call Crane Works. Visit craneworks.com.
Bring everything technology, bringing together hardware, software, and services for IT, print, cloud, and security. Novatech's mantra: get it all, get it right, and get more about the Novatech Managed Office and request a free Office X-ray technology assessment at novatech.net. That's novatech.net.
Hey, mortgage rates have taken a nosedive, back to the lowest in history. Don't miss your chance to lock in a lower house payment with Loan Pronto now. Hey, it's Willie Donna. Call Loan Pronto today and take advantage of their super popular zero-cost refi program. You can get a rate with an APR in the low twos with no junk fees and no closing costs. Yes, they pay your closing costs. Who else does this? Loan Pronto's all-digital process is fast and easy. Virtually no paperwork required, and most loans get closed in 14 days. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Think about that little bonus. Call Loan Pronto now and start the process before rates spike again. Get your forever loan today. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. If your current mortgage rate starts with a 3, you need to act now. 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans eligible for zero-cost option.
What if you could build a 6-figure retirement income in just 5 payments? You heard right. In just 5 payments,
Set up a six-figure retirement cash flow for as long as you live. There's a retirement crisis in America because the pen of $100,000 in retirement. A new approach is required to solve this crisis. That's why this revolutionary 5-pay retirement program was released, allowing everyday Americans to use bank money to create a retirement cash flow without relying on Social Security or pensions. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it accelerates the amount they'll have at retirement or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you're over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement in just 5 payments, call Wealth Education Group now at 800-375-3232 to see if you qualify for this brand new program. Plus, as a free bonus, you'll get the 5-pay retirement guide and video. Call 800-375-3232, 1-800-375-3232, 1-800-375-3232.
Robbie Stanley coming in off the water, coming in there to tailgate. Joe Rex Road.
That was fun. Get
your morning started with Robbie and Rex Road every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
TD Power Hour is presented by FreedomTireGuys.com and by Craneworks and Rental Works. Let's go to your phone lines, which are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Questions for TD. Kinston has been waiting patiently. He'll kick us off. Go ahead, Kinston.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Question specifically for both of you guys, Mr. TD. Two guys that I would say have been disappointments at all, but really didn't take off like I thought in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Nate Davis and Jeff Simmons. Nate Davis will kind of pick up and kind of start off where he left. He's kind of started slow. You can hear what you think about that. And Jeff Simmons, I know a lot of people are saying his praises, but I'm kind of still waiting on him to be this Pro Bowl, All-Pro guy. I know he's been playing well, but a lot of people point to getting double teamed a lot, but it seems like he makes plays.
Listen.
Yeah, I'm with Kinston on Nate Davis. It has been extremely disappointing seeing that interior pressure and just how some of these things are happening. Now, there was a play where was it Okereke? I think it was Okereke. He had a sack, and some people mistakenly said that was on Nate Davis. The protection slid to the left, and that was actually on Jeremy McNichols. He had to go inside out, and he didn't pick up Okereke or whoever that linebacker was coming. But other than that, there have definitely been multiple times where it's just not getting a push, which is killing the rushing attack, but then also just getting that interior pressure. So he's definitely right on there. And, I thought this was going to be an all-pro season for Nate Davis. In fact, I felt last year was that. So, yeah, there's been a downswing on that. But as far as Simmons is concerned, I don't know that I would say he's been a disappointment. There are definitely plenty of plays that he's made, but it's tough when you got a D tackle like that, an interior guy. We're so kind of spoiled by seeing, guys like Aaron Donald get all of those sacks. And I think, and I know Kinston watches these games, so I think that's one of those ones where you got to go back and watch it a little more closely, watch it again, and you'll see those plays. It's not always a play them just, getting that pressure, not getting the sack, but causing the quarterback to spin out of the pocket, and now one of your outside guys are getting it. So you're seeing those things happen.
I think as a group, to Kinston's point and your point, I think Jeffrey Simmons, Nate Davis had a great end of the first year, carried all that momentum into the second year where he was awesome. Mm-hmm. And now I'm watching the games, and when they show a replay of a sack, sometimes I feel like I have the same feelings that I used to have when Chance Warmack was at right guard, where I feel like I was smacking the table at least once a game going, Warmack, and I know Nate Davis is not Chance Warmack. Like, I know that. So that's frustrating. I think Simmons is a bad dude, and I think that, everybody is benefiting. Like Harold Landry, for example, had 9 or 9.5 sacks 2 years ago. That number dropped significantly last year, and this year it looks like Harold's back to the same Harold. I don't think Harold got worse or better in between. I think it's the whole group working together, and I think Autry's doing a lot, and I think Simmons is doing a lot, and I think that's how Ola Adeni, now he's played well, but I think that's helping him too. And so I would say take the merits of the whole group, the stats of. Good question.
That's a good question. I would say 3 or 4, I would say, but there's a stretch coming up that's going to really, really let us know where they are. But right now, I would say 3 or 4.
I wouldn't rule out 1 or 2.
1?
Here's why. Who like the best team that we thought going into the season in the AFC was the Chiefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're 1 and 2. And I don't think the Chiefs are a bad team or going to be a bad team. No. But they got to play Justin Herbert another time. And the Raiders are 3-0, and they look like they might be okay. And Derek Carr looks like he's playing well. They're going to have to play him twice. And Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos are 3-0, and I think that's fool's gold. But it also could not be. And so, that's a lot different than the Colts, Jags, and the Texans, which
I still think an argument could be made for the Chiefs or Buffalo, even Cleveland. It's still, in my opinion, that same cluster of teams. That's just the way I look at it.
I just think the division is so easy this year for the Titans. And then they've got games like this week, and that they may not be the best team, but they may have a better record because they don't have to play Lamar Jackson like Cleveland does, and they don't have to play. That's just my whole point on this season.
You know what? Week 6 starts, right? You know what happens?
I know.
Yeah. So you could count your blessings right now with these teams that they're playing, but the schedule is not getting any easier. So I think 3 or 4. I would lean more towards 3 right now, but that could definitely change. But there's a tough stretch coming up, and let's be honest, they haven't played their best football.
No, they have not.
The Canadian Titan texts in and says, after the last few years, one of the biggest pluses for the Titans offense was how efficient it was. Through 3 weeks, the efficiently just hasn't been there, particularly in week 2 when the Titans couldn't convert in the red zone in the first half.
Yeah.
Is this a matter of just taking time to gel, or is there a concern here about how Todd Downing is affecting this offense, or could it just be a fluke to this point?
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of taking time to gel. I think it is a matter of you gotta get back to what makes them so good, and that's Derrick Henry in the red zone. That's what makes you a good team, because Henry in the red zone and Tannehill's ability to win with his legs. So I think they need to get back into more of that boot action and those type of things in the red zone. So I'm not going to put it directly on Todd Downing as much as just it's a matter of just staying focused on what it is that allowed them in the past to be so good in the red zone, and don't lose track of that.
How much of it you think is because of the injury to Ferkser?
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's a very good point. Because he's a guy that they, short area quickness, they love him in those in the red zone and third down situations. But he's back, full participant the last 2 days. So
Flipplesnickel texts in. In reference to a conversation that Jared and I were having about Derrick Henry's production. Flipplesnickel asks, if Derrick Henry, let's say, rushes for 1,850 yards in 15 games this year, the Titans have got a first-round bye. Would you sit Derrick Henry for the remaining 2 games to save him for the playoffs, or would you continue to play him so he can reach that 2,000-yard mark?
I would continue to play him, and it's not so he can reach the 2,000-yard mark. I just am a firm believer of I don't believe you roll into the playoffs rusty or having starters have a day, like a game off. I don't think that's not the way I would do it. And I always think of that Colts team, and they rested their guys, and they got beat the first time they went out there and played, in the playoffs. And you can't have that. So for me, I would just keep them going. Again, it's not to get the record. It's just to keep that everything all together.
I'd say this. I think Vrabel, the one thing that I've learned about Vrabel the last 2 years is that while he's, what it takes to win is number one, I think he values those individual achievements and what they mean in the history of football, the way he ball 45 times. But I think he would play Derrick because of the respect that he has for how hard it is to achieve those accomplishments. And so that's the route I think they would go. And then whatever happens, based in the playoffs, you can second guess. But I think that Vrabel does have a lot of appreciation for the history of football and what a back-to-back 2,000-yard season would mean. TD, do you think that if Derrick gets 2,000 in 17 games that people are going to knock it?
They will. They will. Because, look, Jared, here's the deal. People do not like running backs having success. right? Because you remember just wasn't too long ago you had these guys, well, I wouldn't give a running back a second contract. What? Did you not see what Derrick Henry was doing for this team? How, all of Nashville was on the shoulders of number 22, and he was carrying them all the time? So for me, yeah, they're going to find a way to minimize such an accomplishment. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is, man. Like, this dude is hands down the best toter of the rock in the league, and I don't think there's an argument to be made.
TD Power Hour, presented every week by FreedomTireGuys.com and Craneworks and Rental Works. Talking with TD podcast is available. Who's on the Talking with TD podcast this week, TD?
Yeah, as always, Forever Titan Chris Sanders. But this week we talked a little shop with Rich Cimini. He is the Jets reporter covering that team for ESPN NFL Nation. So we got into just some Corey Davis talk and just talk some shop, man. That's what we do.
Speaking of Corey Davis talk, that's what we got coming up next. TD, appreciate you as always, man. We'll talk next week and on the pregame show.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you all.
Yep, TD at his best here on the program. Speaking of Corey Davis, I have an opinion on Corey Davis. And I like Corey Davis fine, the guy. He's a great guy. I have an opinion on Corey Davis and something that he put out there publicly yesterday about what the Titans, I think, really think of him. We'll get to that coming up next and why I think it's important. Here on Stillman and Company. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. There is no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with my friends at Hiller. Hiller is offering you credits for your old home systems. Trade in your old HVAC unit. You'll earn up to $1,500 in credits towards select new systems. Upgrade from a standard water heater to a tankless water heater, and you could earn up to $500 with your trade. Trade up to a new electrical panel and earn up to $500 in credits for your old one. Their work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services free guarantee, and I know this because they take absolutely fantastic care of my home. Their technicians are continuing to take measures to keep you and your family safe and healthy on every single call. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Vanderbilt Commodores, and the Tennessee Volunteers. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Take us wherever you may go. There is going to be a whole lot of work going on. Shoot us in anywhere, anytime.
I think he has some big play in him.
Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Is it time to fix your roof? Trust the roofers with integrity. E2 Roofing is a veteran-owned and operated local roofer that has built the reputation of delivering better service. E2 assists customers with roof repair and replacements through their insurance claim assistance, which has awarded them with 95-star Google ratings and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Find out if insurance will pay for your new roof with a free inspection at e2roofingnashville.com.
It's all about getting them something that they're not going to be able to get anywhere else at the best prices with the best warranty.
Meet Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon.
At Genesis Diamond, we never ever lost a sale due to price, quality, selection, or customer service.
What's the Genesis secret? It starts with offering hand-picked GIA certified diamonds.
I'm very proud to say our GIA hand-selected diamonds are one of the largest diamond inventory anywhere in the country.
And then there are the rings. Thousands and thousands of handcrafted unique rings from all the top designers. So at Genesis, you don't have to settle for a knockoff or generic ring. You can get her the ring of her dreams and still stay in budget.
Because of our great buying power of the diamond and also great buying power for the designers, the package deal for the consumer is a win-win situation.
Genesis Diamonds.
I love what I do.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
My accent is always on value.
Alice Cooper, the godfather of shock rock, is back. Alice Cooper, live in concert. With special guest, former Kiss guitarist Ace Frehley. This Sunday at Ascend Amphitheater. Get tickets now at livenation.com. The concert return of the year with legendary rocker Alice Cooper. Part of the Journey's concert series.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here. In Week 4, the NFL is here, and FanDuel Sportsbook wants you to get the most out of every play, and that's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet every single week. And Thursday night, a great opportunity to give it a try. All you got to do is bet a same-game parlay bet with 3 legs or more, and if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. You got the Jags and the Bengals coming up this week. Give me Joe Burrow and company to get it done against the Jags, but you take it any way you want to take it. I think Joe Burrow's going to have a big day. Well, offers like this are one of the many reasons I love betting with FanDuel Sportsbook. It's easy to use. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and they get you your money quickly in as little as 24 hours. So if you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, claim your 30-1 odds on either team to win in the Sunday night game between Tampa and New England. Just sign up with promo code ROB, and if your first bet loses, you get up to $1,000 back in site credit. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund of $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile and web. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Dr. Dre will be your halftime performer at the Super Bowl this year. I follow Eminem on Instagram.
Which is something that I just learned and something that feels so incredibly random.
So Eminem posts, I love Eminem. So Eminem, you got to remember, I'm 32. So like when Eminem was hot was when I was like 10.
That's like my Lil Wayne.
Everybody in America, well, a lot of people in America loved Eminem. So he posts a picture. It's Dr. Dre, himself, some guy I don't know, some woman I don't know, and Snoop Dogg. And it says, Dre Day in February, I'm there. Hashtag Pepsi halftime show at NBC Sports, at Pepsi, at NFL, at Rock Nation, hashtag Super Bowl LVI. By the way, I always feel cheated that the Super Bowl halftime show I went to when the Titans played the Rams in Super Bowl 34, I always feel cheated.
I think that's Mary J. Blige.
I was thinking that might be who that is. And then who's the guy on the right?
The guy on the right. Oh my God, that's Kendrick Lamar.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
You don't know who Kendrick Lamar is?
I know he does the song, Sit Down, Be Humble. Sit down, be humble. No. I know he does that song.
He does do that song,
okay. But I'm not like big on like now.
This is going to be a great show.
I'm not a music guy.
Which is interesting in Music City.
Yeah, but like every time I go, I listen to sports talk radio. I mean, think about every time that we've had a conversation about something I'm listening to, and it is always Sports talk radio.
Yeah,
all the time.
Which that does check out, yes.
Or Audible.
Do love Audible.
But I always feel cheated because the Super Bowl 34 halftime show in 99 was Phil Collins and Tina Turner. And so, I'm 10, and it's Phil Collins and Tina Turner. I'm like, this is so lame. And the next year was like Nelly and Britney Spears and like all these great ones. So I don't.
That is such an early 2000s Super Bowl halftime show. Is Nelly and Britney Spears.
So Corey Davis will make his debut against the Tennessee Titans for the New York Jets on Sunday. And Corey Curtis, you just texted me. We'll get to that in a second. Corey Davis was asked if the Titans offered him a contract extension this offseason. This is what Corey Davis said yesterday.
Was it a tough decision to leave?
No. Nope. Made it pretty easy.
When you were with Tennessee, I mean, obviously you got paid pretty well here by the Jets. I mean, was there an effort by the Titans to retain you?
No, sir.
Did that bother you, Corey?
A little bit. I'm not going to lie to you, a little bit. But, God doesn't make mistakes, and I'm extremely happy to be here.
So Corey Davis basically says, nope, didn't think about staying, didn't offer me a contract, no shot that I was coming back. And, yeah, it bothered me a little bit. And I thought Corey Davis had a decent season last year. You all know I was never a Corey Davis fan. Ever was I a Corey Davis fan. And he never lived up to the billing of being the 5th overall pick. But I was thinking about this as far as big picture with Corey Davis. Because Corey Davis was a fine player when he was with the Titans. He was fine. You couldn't count on him in big moments. He dropped the ball at the most inopportune times. He was never great. And he was never even close to great. He was fine. When you draft 5th overall, fine is not an acceptable option. Given the circumstances of what was out there when the Titans picked Corey Davis, given the circumstances of what they could have done by moving back in that 2017 draft, given the circumstances of what happened that night in the draft, I wonder if Corey Davis's selection was the biggest mistake John Robinson has made as general manager of the Titans. In fact, on draft night in 2017, when they made the selection of Corey Davis 5th overall, Derek Mason, who was part of our broadcast that night, only the greatest wide receiver the Tennessee Titans have ever had, D. Mays said when they announced the pick, "Are you kidding me?" He couldn't believe it. Floyd, who had said, "I would never draft this guy because he didn't run a 40, was almost speechless. And I was losing my bananas. When John Robinson took over the Titans, they traded the 1st overall pick in 2016. By trading that pick, which later became Jared Goff, they were able to acquire Jack Conklin, Jonnu Smith, Derrick Henry, and Corey Davis. You would trade one pick for those 4 guys anytime. And as the 2017 draft approached, the Titans had the 5th overall pick, thanks to that trade with the Rams. And I said, you got to trade back. You got to trade back, trade back, trade back. And once Floyd told me that none of the wide receivers in this class, whether it was Corey Davis, whether it was Mike Williams, whether it was John Ross, whether it was Juju Smith-Schuster, that none of them were quote-unquote AJ or Julio, I said, no thank you. The AJ, by the way, referring to is AJ Green. That it wasn't AJ Green or Julio Jones. I said, okay, I'm not taking a wide receiver 5th overall. The next day, Floyd tried to kind of save face for his buddy John Robinson by saying, well, John knew there was going to be a run on the wide receivers because as soon as Davis went, Mike Williams went, and then John Ross went. But I was never really on board. Trevor Maddich came on our show the next day and was like, I don't like this pick. In that draft, Buffalo had the 10th overall pick. So that's 5 spots past the Titans. And we all know that the difference between the 5th pick and the 10th pick is astronomical when it comes to draft currency. They traded the 10th pick to Kansas City for the 27th pick, for Kansas City's 1st pick in 2018, and for their 3rd pick in the 2017 draft. So 2 1s and a 3. And that was 5 spots after you. And Kansas City did that to go draft Patrick Mahomes. Cleveland traded the 12th pick to Houston for the 1st overall, or for the 1st pick in the 2018 draft, the 25th pick, and their 1st pick in next year's draft, 4th overall. So each team that traded out 5 spots or 7 spots after the Titans, each team gave up an extra 1st-round pick, and in the case of Kansas City, also gave up a 3rd. Now, that's a small price to pay when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. But again, there were trades to be had. And the players that came after Corey Davis in this 1st round, Jamal Adams, Christian McCaffrey, Mahomes, Marshawn Lattimore, Deshaun Watson, Marlon Humphrey. Think about all those players. T.J. Watt, Budda Baker. And I'm not saying it's easy to go back in any draft and look at a general manager and say, okay, you picked this guy and you could have picked that guy. You can do that in any draft. But when you pick a guy and then immediately after him are franchise-level players, that means you swung and missed. John Robinson drafted for need in 2017 in a draft that had great players. One thing Floyd used to always tell callers, because they used to always ask about drafting for need or drafting the best player available, is if you don't draft the best player available, then the teams that you have to play end up getting those guys. So Robinson drafts Davis, who was never fast enough to be the 5th overall pick, who was never talented enough to be the 5th overall pick, who was injured, and passed up on what they could have gotten in exchange for moving out of that slot. Again, if Kansas City, to go to 10, gave up a 2 1s and a 3 what would they have given up to go to 5 and jump the Jets, who had Geno Smith as their quarterback at the time, to jump the Jets, who might draft a quarterback to ensure that they get Mahomes? 2 1s, a 2, and a 4. That's the trade he made in 2016. But he didn't make the trade in 2017. And people will say, well, what about all the draft picks that were busts? Because you can argue that Corey Davis was not a bust. Now, I think Davis was a bust. You draft a guy 5th overall. He doesn't come close to the Pro Bowl. He doesn't even sniff being an elite level player, and you have no interest in giving him a second contract. That's a bust. You pick a guy 5th overall, you want a guy who's going to be there for a decade. But the fact here that we look at all the other busts, Isaiah Wilson was a bust with the 28th pick, and he didn't even play a meaningful snap, and just because that's a bigger bust than Corey Davis doesn't mean it's a bigger mistake. If you traded out of the 28th pick, what would you have gotten? If you trade out of the 5th pick, which is what a lot of people were begging the Titans to do, you would have ended up with a haul. In fact, you could have made that pick last even longer. And I think there was a part of me that wanted that to be the case, where you traded out of the 1st overall pick in 2016. You got this pick from the Rams that ended up being Davis as part of the deal, and you could have kept trading and accumulated a bunch of draft picks. It should be noted that when the Titans made that trade with the Rams, they got 2 second-round picks. They had 3 second-round picks in 2016. They drafted Kevin Dodd, Austin Johnson, and with that 3rd second-round pick, even though they had a running back in DeMarco Murray, they just decided to take Derrick Henry off the board. I'd say it worked out pretty well. When you have more bullets, it's easy to take more shots. And it's easy to take better shots. And that's what the Corey Davis pick could have given them. So I have argued this. You can take an individual bust and say, well, that player contributed nothing to the Titans, so that was a worse pick than Corey Davis. And I'm not saying that Isaiah Wilson was not a worse pick as far as what he gave you than Davis. But Isaiah Wilson wasn't the 5th overall pick in the draft. Isaiah Wilson wasn't the 5th overall pick in a draft that was rich with talent. He wasn't the 5th overall pick in a draft where 2 teams traded first-round picks to move up to draft quarterbacks. Isaiah Wilson wasn't picked before Patrick Mahomes, who is the best quarterback in the NFL and going to the Hall of Fame. He wasn't picked before Christian McCaffrey or TJ Watt or Tre'Davious White. And they obviously didn't hit a grand slam with Adoree Jackson either in that same draft. But I think that Corey Davis, when you factor in everything, lack of production, no desire to give him a second contract, what everybody else traded up for in that same draft, the players that were on the board and what they've become in the NFL, and what you didn't get out of Corey Davis, I think you can argue that that's the biggest mistake of John Robinson's Titans general manager career. That not trading out of that pick or not taking another player because you had to take a wide receiver for need is the biggest mistake John Robinson made. And I think, again, all kind of decisions are weighted differently. The Titans were a 9-7 team, but they were a young team. They were a building team. Their core pieces at the time were young. Mariota was young. Lawan was young. Kevin Byard was young. Jack Conklin was young. They were a young team. And you felt like, okay, this team's got the potential to be pretty good down the road. And if you add a superstar player, that takes you there. If you add, say, 3 picks and you hit on 2 of the 3 picks, or you hit on 1 of the 3 picks, like you did in the Derrick Henry trade, which everybody will refer to as the Jared Goff trade, but it got you Derrick Henry, got you Jonnu Smith, it got you Jack Conklin. If you hit on 1 of those guys in a trade that moves you out for Corey Davis, or 2 of those guys, how much better of a team are you? So, look, I understand Corey Davis's frustration with the Titans not offering him a contract. I think it was the right move. And I think John Robinson, I can appreciate the fact that he didn't try to throw money at the mistake and say, hey, nope, Davis is our guy. We believe in Davis. Here's $13 million a year, Corey. You go play wide receiver for us. I'm glad he didn't do that. And Davis is not a bum. Isaiah Wilson's a bum. Kevin Dodd's a bum. But I still think, given what was on the table, biggest mistake John Robinson has made as general manager of the Titans was Corey Davis. And I would love to know why. Why did he feel like Davis was worthy of the 5th overall pick? Especially an injured Davis. He never looked like an elite wide receiver, did he? Floyd told you all. He wasn't A.J. Green or Julio Jones. So why? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. Your thoughts on the Corey Davis decision. And if it is the biggest mistake Robinson's made as general manager, plus what Chris Sanders had to say about Corey Davis and Corey Davis's attitude on Sunday. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Speaking of Chris Sanders, he'll be with us for the pregame show. That's right, coming up Sunday, 9:30 to 11:30. We will be live at the Corner Pub out in Brentwood this Sunday, getting you set, Mark, Howard, Chris Sanders, and yours truly, for the Titans and the Jets. The pregame show brought to you by TriStar Moving, FreedomTireGuys.com, FanDuel, E2 Roofing, Hillside Medical, Social Furniture, Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey, and Parman Tractor and Equipment. Actually, hanging out with the Parman Tractor and Equipment guys today. They let me get on a tractor. They let me play around in the parking lot with it. I was this close to demolishing the whole place, just taking that thing right in and going with it. But I had a lot of fun with them. So join us on Sunday, 9:30 to 11:30. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hang out with us every weekday starting at 6 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad.
I really am. You gotta be. I mean, I just totally am. You've gotta be.
Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2.
Good participation.
We have a system now, thank goodness.
I had a funny moment happen.
And Stillman and Company from 2 to 6.
I have a story.
Get a cupcake.
Watch live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Tune in anytime on the Game Nashville app or your home speaker. This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Dan Abrams and his live PD sidekick Styx return in a new program, Dan Abrams Live, weeknights at 8, 7 Central, on News Nation.
When you purchase a certified pre-owned vehicle from Mercedes-Benz of Music City, you have the power of the star backing your car to meet certification standards. A car has to be less than 6 years old with less than 75,000 miles. All certified vehicles come with 24/7 personal assistance and an extra 12-month unlimited mileage warranty. Right now, you can get 1.99% financing for 36 months on select 2017 to 2019 certified models at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. See more at mbofmc.com.
Rock Bottom Nashville is Broadway's original brewery, where all brews are brewed on site. Josh Rappaport is Rock Bottom's brewmaster, creating fresh craft beers where peak flavors are always the rule. Grab one of their blockbuster beers to pair with their nachos, pretzel bites, and delicious flatbreads. They even have group catering. They boast one of the best views of downtown Nashville and is a short walk to Titan Stadium. And enjoy happy hour Monday through Friday afternoons from 2 until 6. Rock Bottom Nashville, 111 Broadway.
Cast iron. Lift that cast iron. You're doing good.
Hey, hon. Sweetie.
Yeah, hon.
I need to make dinner. I need that pan.
You can't always do home workouts how you'd want, but now you can sip what you want. Heineken 0.0. It tastes great, only has 69 calories, and absolutely zero alcohol.
Well, here, lift these. 2 Heineken 0.0s.
Oh, right. Dumbbells I can drink. Sip. 0.
Must be 21 plus to purchase. Enjoy responsibly.
It's that time of year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron. BetOnline.net is your #1 spot for all the pro and college football odds and news this season. Get all the updated info on players, teams, and odds to help you with your new football contests, leagues, and new survivor pools. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports. Pro sports, MMA, championship boxing, golf, horse racing, they have it all. Bring the game home with BetOnline.net, where the game starts.
Your home value is way up this year, and with mortgage rates back to all-time lows, it's a great time to call Loan Pronto. Refinance now and get cash out of your home's equity. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Loan Pronto can refinance your loan at a super low rate. They can pay the closing costs for you and get you a bunch of cash out. How does $40,000 or $50,000 sound? Don't just sit on that home's new value. Use it. Use it to pay off credit cards. Use it to consolidate other debt. Get rid of PMI. Use IT key to make your home even more valuable with that home improvement project you've been dreaming about. Loan Pronto's all-digital platform makes it fast and easy. And if you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Ask about the Loan Pronto zero-cost cash-out refi. LoanPronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Zero-cost option not available on all loans.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Corey Davis look like a guy you remember when you're watching film on the Jets right now?
Yeah, he's big. Corey's he's physical. Has made some contested catches. Has tried to play big, and yeah, I think that's what we remember Corey being, and it's going to be a difficult challenge for us. He's got a good combination of size and speed, and he's a willing blocker.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel on Corey Davis. Corey Davis not interested, apparently, according to him. The Titans weren't interested in giving Corey Davis a second contract. Corey Curtis is mad at me on Twitter. He said, I don't need to listen to this to know that it's ridiculous that Corey Davis could be the biggest mistake John Robinson made. Kevin Dodd, Isaiah Wilson leave everything in the dust. Davis actually helped them win games. I guess you can make the point that Corey Davis was a better Titan player than Kalen Reed, too. He's a better Titan player than Jalston Fowler was as a fullback that the Titans signed. The difference is the value of where you took these guys. And I think that we have to understand something. In the NFL, when you have the number 1 overall pick, that guy better be a player. Mm-hmm. Like, that guy better be your franchise. Urban Meyer legitimately came out of retirement, or whatever you want to call it, because he knew he was getting Trevor Lawrence. Jets fans were depressed that they beat the Rams last year because it meant that they weren't going to get Trevor Lawrence. So when you're picking first, second, third, like, that normally has to be a quarterback, or it has to be a guy that absolutely changes your franchise. You can't draft for need at 5. At 28, it's probably 50-50. We all know that in every draft there are going to be guys that are going to be marginal NFL players, or guys that aren't going to fit. Or, if Isaiah Wilson was just a bust, like Rashaan Evans. Rashaan Evans is a bust. David Long Jr. was taken in the 5th round, and David Long Jr. is a better player than Rashaan Evans. And that's no knock on Evans. He does his job. He shows up. He's just not that fast, doesn't tackle that well, and isn't that good. And so that's a bust. You traded a 1st and a 4th to get Rashaan Evans. Bust. But that happens. No one's going to be mad, about, oh my God, Rashaan Evans is a bust, and this is. They do feel that way about Isaiah Wilson because the Isaiah Wilson situation was so comically bad. But in reality, you just missed on the 28th overall pick. You just missed. That happens. This is different. This is the 5th overall pick. When Floyd missed on the 5th overall pick in Pac-Man Jones, he ended up being an NFL starting number 1 corner for 15 years. And the only reason he missed on him is because he didn't know Pac-Man was going to go off the reservation, which is something that, honestly, and Floyd gave me his reasoning for why he drafted Pac-Man. He probably should have been worried about. But when you're going 5th overall, you got to get a star. And most of these teams, when you take somebody that high and you miss, and they don't become franchise-altering players, normally you get fired. I'm not saying John Robinson should be fired, but it is the level of egregiousness with the mistake that you make. Kevin Dodd was a 2nd-round pick. People miss on 2nd-round picks all the time. You can get over a miss on a 2nd-round pick. What you can get when you have the 5th overall pick in a draft can make or break you. Just like when John Robinson took the job and they had the number 1 overall pick in that draft. And they turned it into Jack Conklin, Derrick Henry, Jonnu Smith, and the pick that became Corey Davis. That has made him as a general manager. Conklin was an all-pro. Jonnu Smith was a contributing player on 3 playoff teams. And Derrick Henry may be the best player the Tennessee Titans have ever had. That has made him as a general manager. John Robinson might be fired by now if he didn't have Derrick Henry. And I like John. But again, That's what makes or breaks you. It's like when you play blackjack. And anybody who knows how to play blackjack, you play the same almost every time. Mm-hmm. But it's the splits and the doubles where you can put more money on the table and subsequently lose more money. But that's what makes or breaks you. So when you have the number 1 overall pick, you turn it into 4 Pro Bowlers, or I guess, 3 Pro Bowlers and Corey Davis, or 2 Pro Bowlers, Jonnu Smith, the highest paid tight end, and Davis. That made you. You had that Davis pick at 5. Again, the 10th overall pick went for 2 first-rounders and a third-rounder, and it ended up being the best quarterback in the NFL. You can't evaluate that poorly. If you know there is a franchise quarterback on the board when you are sitting there, and in this case 2, because Watson was there too. When you know there's a franchise quarterback on the board, you've got to make sure the other teams know. Even if you're not going to pick a guy, you got to make sure the other teams know. Hey, there's a franchise quarterback out there. You got to put it through the back channels. You got to call Mel Kiper and kiss his butt and tell him how great you think Mahomes or Watson, how great they are, to raise their value to get a team like Kansas City that, again, that's not cheap. 2 1s and a 3 to move from 27 to 10. You got to kiss their butt. Mel Kiper, those guys, bump it up. Peter King, bump it up, bump. Now, Kansas City's sitting there saying, oh, my God, this Mahomes, he's our guy. And we're hearing about how all these teams like him and that he may go in the top 5 picks. Oh, my God, Tennessee, we see the Jets at 6. What can we do to get up there and make that pick? You can give us 2 1s, a 2, a 3, and a 6. I think they do it. If it guaranteed that none of those other teams could have taken him. Carolina couldn't take him. The Jets couldn't take him. None of those other teams. I mean, Chicago gave all that crap to San Francisco to move from 3 to 2 so nobody could take Mitchell Trubisky. Think about that. And I would argue that Ryan Pace, the general manager in Chicago, should be fired because he did that. So I think this is the biggest one, where the chips lied. 615-737-1025. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Corey has responded to my tweet because I said, I guess he does not understand the value of high draft picks. He said, I guess Jared does not understand that getting 0 from a first-round pick is getting worse than 4 seasons from one that helped the team to 6 playoff games. Corey. Derrick Henry got this team to 6 playoff games. Corey Davis did not.
I mean, I think you have to look at, okay, what was the worst pick? Yes, I don't think anyone could argue that Isaiah Wilson contributed significantly less to the Titans than Corey Davis had. Yes, but I think to your point, look at what was available. Look at what the Titans passed up on in order to get Corey Davis. Now, I don't know who was drafted behind Isaiah Wilson. I'm going to bet it wasn't a player at the level of Patrick Mahomes.
Or Jamal Adams.
Yes.
Or Deshaun Watson. Or Christian McCaffrey. Or TJ Watt.
Yes.
Or Tre'Davious White.
Okay. So who was the worst pick? Definitely Isaiah Wilson. I don't think you can argue that. But in terms of the value, what was a bad decision?
Right.
Weighing the pros and cons of the two of them.
Sure. You buy a bad car. Okay.
It's a bad car.
That's $50,000, however much, if it's a really nice car, whatever. You buy a bad house. You make a bad real estate deal. Totally different. Mm-hmm. The value is a lot higher. 5th overall picks don't come around every day. That is where you get high-end great talent with the high first-round picks. You know how the Indianapolis Colts got Peyton Manning? Because they had the first pick. So this idea of this guy produced less. Okay, Kalen Reed produced less. Dez Fitzpatrick produced less. Dez Fitzpatrick was not a worse decision than Corey Davis. Not by a long shot. Because Dez Fitzpatrick was a 4th-round pick. And 4th-round picks bust all the time. That's fine.
It was still a bad pick.
Sure, but it wasn't a worse pick than Davis.
Fair.
Given the circumstances.
Fair.
Let's get to your phones on it next because I hear they are lining up. So we'll get to that next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, plus what Chris Sanders has to say about Corey Davis. Stillman and Company, let me tell you about Invigorate Health. That's right, Invigorate Health out in Mount Juliet. A lot of guys have a lot of issues, and I hear a lot of different ads for, this place has ED that takes care of that. This place has this, or this. They do everything that you're looking for. If you are feeling old, if you are feeling fat, if you are feeling out of shape, if you are feeling like you need to talk to my friends at Invigorate Health. Give them a call or visit them online, invigoratehealthtn.com, or just Google Invigorate Health and call them. Their trained physicians will meet with you. You'll get a consultation. They'll check your levels, everything else, and they'll see what's right for you. They've got weight loss programs. They have IV therapy programs. They have testosterone and hormone replacement programs. And they've got my favorite, the M-Sculpt Neo. I'll tell you, the M-Sculpt Neo is a new technology. It is non-invasive. That's right. You just use a little electromagnetic field right over your body, and it will eliminate those hard-to-get-rid-of fat areas, whether it's your thighs, your lower thighs, your upper thighs, your abdomen, whatever. You want to get that belly fat off. The M-Sculpt Neo, 30% less fat on average, 25% more muscle, and a 93% reduction in cellulite. That's right, the M-Sculpt Neo. So give it a try today. Invigorate Health, invigoratehealthtn.com. Again, if you are just looking to get started on something to make you feel like you're 25 or 27 or 22, again, invigoratehealthtn.com. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Titans. Jets. It's time to take care of business in the Big Apple. Tune in Sunday at 9:30 for NFL pregame with Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Mark Howard. Live from Corner Pub in Brentwood. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Fiero Tequila Habanero is for those who enjoy the flavor of spice, naturally infused with fresh, fine ripened peppers from farmers in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Fiero Tequila Habanero is unapologetically the spiciest infused tequila available in the U.S. The hand-picked habaneros provide a delicious kick to the smooth Blanco tequila. It's a flavor punch that's perfect as a shot or a spicy way to spice up your hard seltzer, or perfect for a fiery cocktail. Available at fine liquor stores and your favorite drinking establishments. Fiero Tequila, the world belongs to the brave.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I have it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com now to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
In 1972, a Nashville family business story began when Bill and Beverly Finley founded Volunteer Hose and Gasket. 3 generations have grown the business into the local industry leader supplying just about anything to anybody, from the largest of contractors to your neighbor that mows his own yard. Over 1 million items in stock: belts, belting accessories, gaskets, gauges, hose fittings, hydraulics, industrial hoses, lubricants, sealing products, tubing, fire protection, and more. All at volunteerhose.net. If Volunteer Hose and Gasket doesn't have it, then you probably don't need it. Call them at 615-242-0461.
The 102.5 The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation by calling or texting us at 615-737-1025.
Tonight.
Score! Ellie Tolman and a laser!
The Nashville Predators preseason continues when they visit the Tampa Bay Lightning. Pre-game at 5:30. Puck drop at 6.
On ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You know what, and I don't really say bad words, and this is not really a bad word, but I would be pissed, honestly. And if I'm Corey Davis, I will be hot. I will practice hard. I'm running through somebody's face, and I'm going to tell you why. Corey Davis did the right thing. He might not, the first couple of years he might have messed up a little bit, but he did everything right. When the media said he wasn't this, he kept his mouth closed. When he was hurt, when he sat on the sidelines, he kept his mouth closed. When he almost had 1,000 yards and he was doing well, he kept his mouth closed. He's one of those guys that consistently did the right thing, and those are the kind of players that Mike Vrabel, quote, quote, are looking for. Now, you're asking me to do the right thing. You're asking me to do my part. Then all of a sudden it comes for you to resign me and you don't do your part. Oh, I'm ticked off. you better believe I'm going to run through somebody's face. I'm going to say, you know what? Not to prove to them or show revenge, but I'm going to show them, hey, it was a mistake for you not keeping me. I did everything right. I asked everything that you asked me of, and I did the right thing. And now the ball's in your court, and you're like, well, you know, we're going to look at our options. No, I don't want to hear you looking for other options. I want to be your option because I was your option when you needed me. So if I'm Corey Davis, I'm running through somebody's doggone face.
That was Chris Sanders yesterday, former Titans receiver on the program. I got to say this. I'm not worried about Corey Davis on Sunday. Corey Davis does not have, and this is probably my biggest knock on Corey Davis. Corey Davis never had the killer instinct inside of him. He and Mariota never had that. Derrick Henry's got it. AJ's got it. Jonnu Smith, to a certain extent, had it. Tannehill's got it. McNair and Eddie George had it. Derek Mason had it. Corey Davis, and this is something when we go back and look at this draft pick that the Titans made, Corey Davis never elevated in big moments. 0 catches last year at Green Bay. 0 catches in the playoff game against the Ravens. The only meaningful catch I can think that Corey Davis made in the playoffs, because, you know, Corey Curtis is like, he helped you get to 6 playoff games. I remember him running the wrong route in Kansas City and Mariota throwing an interception in the playoffs. But the only one I can think of is the Derrick Henry pop pass against the Ravens. And that was when they were just adding insult to injury. You know, at that point, with the way Derrick Henry was just kicking their ass. You know, Henry lines up at the quarterback position in the Wildcat, runs up the line, pop passes it up to Davis for a touchdown. That's the only one I can think of. And so he just never had that killer instinct in him. And that's something they should have known. You know, even though he was hurt during the draft prospect, I think they should have. Let's go to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. ESPN 94.9 is the official English radio home of the National Soccer Club. Listen in Sunday, Nashville SC takes on New York City. Pre-game, 10:45. The match begins at 11. What's in our text line, Caroline?
One texter texts in and says, not re-signing Jack Conklin is a J-Rob screw-up that hasn't stopped having negative ramifications since. Instead of re-signing Conklin, he spent $20+ million on Clowney and Beasley, then drafted Isaiah Wilson. Then he used a second-round pick this year on Radins to try and fix the Wilson pick. Radins opened the season 3rd on the depth chart at right tackle, and Conklin was an all-pro again last year in Cleveland.
Well, Radins isn't 3rd on the depth chart at right tackle. Radins is like 9th. On the depth chart at right tackle.
I'd be shocked if I saw Dylan Radins anytime soon.
I mean, they would play Ty Sambrilo there before they play him at right tackle. They would play Kendall Lamb, who stinks. They would play him at right tackle. And I would guess if they had to, they'd kick out either Davis or Saffold to tackle, if they had to. Mm-hmm. They don't want to, but I just so I'm not going to say that the not signing Conklin was the biggest mistake because they drafted a tackle and it didn't work. And then they drafted another tackle and so far it hasn't worked. I wouldn't go there. I think that the decision to not re-sign Conklin, it's had its ramifications, but has it really? Like, has protecting the quarterback, has that been an issue over the last 2 years with Kelly and Quessenberry at right tackle?
Well, it's a problem right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
How many times Tannehill get sacked the other day?
Did he get sacked the last game?
You know their highest rated player on Pro Football Focus on offenses right now?
David Quessenberry?
Yeah. So Tannehill got sacked, I believe, up the middle at one point. Mm-hmm. But that's not a right tackle issue.
No.
So right tackle through 3 games. I mean, it had some issues the Arizona game, but everybody, you know, they were just totally besieged the Arizona game. I mean, their running back.
Do you feel good about this right tackle position?
I don't feel awful about it like I did at the beginning of the year. I will say this. They had a 2,000-yard rusher last year. They had no problem protecting the quarterback last season, and they had a 2,000-yard rusher. So if they can run the ball effectively and they can protect their quarterback well, then was Jack Conklin all that valuable? You know, and I when I say was he all that valuable with the question mark, I ask it like this. Was he all that valuable that the only way you were going to keep him was by franchise tagging him? That you would franchise tag him, pay him, you know, top 5 right tackle money, and then you let Derrick Henry go to the open market. Was that worth Jack Conklin?
Was that what it would have been?
Yes. You can't franchise 2 people.
Then,
in fact, I think the Titans would have in that year, because right before, like a week or like a day before the CBA was set to expire, they were allowed to use both tags, the transition and the franchise tag. And I think the Titans were going to franchise Conklin and transition Henry. And then if somebody offered Henry a big contract, then they were just going to match it. But I think that they were going to do that. They were going to franchise Conklin, transition Henry, and then all of a sudden, they were told they got one tag. And so they had Tannehill, Henry, Conklin, and Logan Ryan. Now, we didn't know that they didn't want anything to do with Logan Ryan, but they didn't want anything to do with Logan Ryan. We didn't know that, though, at the time. So we looked at those 4 free agents, and we said, okay, what do you do here? And they signed Tannehill to terms they probably didn't love. But they signed Tannehill to get it done and tagged Henry. So I can't say that not re-signing Conklin. They tried. I've been told they tried to re-sign Conklin, but because they declined the 5th-year option, Conklin wanted to move closer to home, and he didn't feel any loyalty towards the Titans after they declined the 5th-year option. And it was not a bad decision to decline the 5th-year option because Conklin had 2 knee surgeries. What's next?
Another texter texts in and says, I agree, a wide receiver drafted that high should be a Julio, should be an A.J. Green. But speaking of those players, the Corey Davis pick reminds me of the Titans choosing Jake Locker over J.J. Watt, Richard Sherman, Tyron Smith, etc.
So, I hated the Locker pick when they made it. I hated that pick as a fan. But I think it's different when you don't have a quarterback. Like, I hated the Mariota pick at the time. Hated it. Now, I ended up loving Mariota and thinking that Mariota was going to be the answer, and then obviously he was not. And I think they kind of ruined Mariota a little bit. But I hated the Mariota pick. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a quarterback. And that's why, I wanted to talk about this in a little bit. Mel Kiper Jr. has his new big board out. He's got quarterbacks on there I've never heard of. And the quarterbacks that I had heard of are not even, like Spencer Rattler dropped from 2 to 20.
Yeah.
And Mel's latest big board. And again, Mel's not gospel, but just if you're up there that high, the Jets took this kid Wilson. I have no idea if he's any good, but they take the Wilson kid because look at this year's class. It's not very good. But if you're up that high and you don't have a quarterback, you have to take a quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I look at it differently. The Locker pick was a bad pick. They just said, well, he wasn't accurate. And Josh Allen, I guess maybe has proven us a little bit wrong. I just don't think that all of a sudden you become accurate in the NFL. But apparently that's what happened. So I can't knock it too much. But yes, to your point, or to the texter's point, the Locker pick was a bad one. But I still think that the Davis pick, Davis was injured when they drafted him. And he was marred by injuries his entire Titans career. And I got to be honest with you, this is something Robinson's got to cut out, is drafting the injured guys. Because I know that it's worked out okay with Simmons, but outside of that, it has been an epic failure. By the way, Caleb Farley did not practice today, shoulder injury. What else we got?
Well, another texter texts in and asked that same thing. How many injured guys has John Robinson either signed, drafted, or acquired in free agency?
It's funny. We did the Floyd Reese Draft Academy, and it was really just an idea that I had, and I liked it because it made me do less work.
Well, there you
go.
But
I was asked, a program director I really trust made a suggestion to me, hey, with Floyd, you got to take people behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to do more, more draft stuff, more. So I came up with this Floyd Reese Draft Academy. I was like, Floyd, we're going to take an element of the draft, and every Friday at 5 o'clock, you're just going to tell us all about it. And so the first one we did was on the draft board. And he laid out how to set up your draft board, how you come about ranking all these players and deciding it. And Ian, I thought, you remember that one, Ian?
The which one in particular on the draft show?
Setting up the draft board, the Floyd Reese Draft Academy.
Oh, the draft board. That was a good one.
I thought it was like a master's class in football. I thought it was somebody emailed the station and said that should win a Peabody. And I don't disagree with. He looked at me after it was done, and he was like, was that good? I'm like, dude. And one thing he said.
It's something that nobody would ever get the chance to learn about if they weren't talking to a NFL GM.
Oh, it was awesome. And people were saying, oh, I love this Draft Academy, and I miss it, and I miss him. But one of the things he said was, if you don't run a 40, I'm not drafting you. If you don't run a 40, I cannot draft you. If you do not run a 40, I cannot draft you. And I was like, well, what about What about when you watch the college tape? And if you know the 40 time of the guy that he's running against, then can't you make an assumption based off that? Nope.
See, that's kind of how I look at it. Like, okay, whatever you do in the combine, that's great and all, but the things that you're going to be drafting them for are things that they've already done on the field. How can the combine affect your thought process that much?
Nope. And that was just the response every time. Nope. And it was like, and I'll give you an example. Christian Fulton.
Mm-hmm.
We had 40 times, right? We talked about the draft. I mean, when COVID shut down.
Oh, I mean there's really nothing else to talk about.
It was. Yeah, that and Michael Jordan documentary. And I remember literally looking at the athletics draft guide where they had the numbers, and I was like, this guy runs a 4.1, this guy runs a 4.3, this guy runs a whatever. And he was like, well, then I'll take that guy because he's faster. And I'm like, so what does that matter? He goes, because if I've got a receiver who runs a 4.3 and I've got a corner who runs a 4.5, he's going to get burned every time. Mm-hmm. And I said, but that's running with T-shirts and shorts. And he goes, it's not that guy's wearing pads and that guy's wearing pads too. And he took a lot of pride. How about this? Here's another one. Lamar Jackson did everything at the combine except run. He said, I don't care. Didn't care about anything Lamar Jackson did because what he's thinking is a guy like that is beefing his body up and he won't run because it'll slow him down. Then he'll lose all that muscle that he beefed up and run at his pro day and everybody will be like, oh my God. Uh-huh. And so no, that's not what you play at. So I don't care what you run at or what you're doing if you're not going to run. And so he valued that 40. Well, Davis never ran a 40. Had ankle surgery, didn't participate at the combine, didn't participate in the pro day. So then I said there's no way they're going to draft Davis because he didn't participate in the comp. He didn't do that. And if Floyd's not going to draft that guy, John's not going to draft that guy. John drafted him, and I think Floyd learned right then and there to never say something like that around me ever again. Because the whole next day I was like, dude, he didn't run a 40. So I'm freaking out about something that I wouldn't have freaked out about if he hadn't told me. But because he told me that that's how he operated on. Right. I mean, all these players that John's drafted, Floyd would have never drafted. And it's funny because I think deep down inside, and I told this to John the day that Floyd died, that I felt like Floyd viewed John as kind of an extension of his legacy with the Titans. And I view John as an extension of his legacy with the Titans because Floyd got him the job. And I think Floyd was always kind of there for John, even though Floyd would have never let us know that kind of stuff. But all these injured players, he would have never drafted. Never. Because he hates injured people. Would have never drafted Farley. Would have never. I remember the day of the draft in 2019, we're downtown. And I'm like, what about the Simmons kid if he falls to them? Nope. I'm like, you sure? Nope. I mean, just never. Just nope. And then I'm like, what?
Well, I mean, if you look at a lot of the problems that the Titans are having right now, or a lot of the guys that they cannot play right now, Caleb Farley drafted him injured. Julio Jones
Bud Dupree.
Injured. Signed Bud Dupree injured. Can't play.
Oh, he would have never. And I don't want to, turn this as like Floyd against John because as soon as John did all these things that he would have never done, he was always, oh yeah, I think it was, because he knows if he criticizes, like it's the former general manager of the Titans,
yeah.
Right? But like when they were all talking about the Julio stuff, and I didn't talk to Floyd about any of this, I knew he wouldn't have done it. Like in my heart, I knew he would have never made that trade for Julio. Now he would have done it if Julio would have been $6 million.
Yeah.
And he would have done it if he could have given Atlanta a 7th and he'd take on the salary. But he wouldn't have traded a 2nd and taken the money. He would have never done that. And if he had heard what I had heard, what I reported to you all about the checking himself out of the game and stuff like that, and Julio's been fine here. From what I can gather, I don't sense that there's any issue, although, everyone reads into everything Vrabel says. Julio's been fine here, but I'm just telling you, he would have never done it. But that goes back to the whole thing about the injury. And when they drafted Davis, who never ran a 40, their response was, well, we saw the tape and we saw how fast he ran on the tape, so we know he can run. And Davis was never fast enough to be an elite receiver. He was never fast enough, never physical enough, didn't have the hands. He was a great downfield blocker. I will never take that away from Corey Davis. He was a great downfield blocker, gave his all on every play. But this is the 5th overall pick. So downfield blocking, it's great. Mm-hmm. But you're the 5th overall pick. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. By the way, I do want to point out a couple of bets I like at some point today for the Thursday Night Football game, so we'll get into that. We'll also get to your Titans thoughts as well, 615-737-1025. And I'm having a hard time on this Jets thing, so we'll discuss that as well. Stillman & Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game. Let me tell all the fine folks out there right now, which is very important. Hiring new employees is a real struggle right now for everyone, so we want to help. Join for a free recruitment seminar this Thursday at the Hotel Preston in Nashville or this Wednesday at the Drury Plaza Hotel in Franklin. Both come with free breakfast, some great door prizes, and tips to help you recruit and retain employees. Go to thegamenashville.com/register for more info and to sign up.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobus. Forecast stays calm going into tonight, mainly cloudy. Low temperatures in the middle 60s. Some early patchy morning fog leads to mainly sunny skies for the afternoon. High temperatures in the middle 80s with no humidity.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Take the road less wandered with scenic drives, rock formations, waterfalls, roadside food, and unique shops. Something different around every turn. Mississippi, wander's welcome. Learn more at visitmississippi.org/wander.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of pills? Well, I have breaking news. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most proven form of wave technology available, clinically shown by Cambridge to open up and regrow blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. You're gonna love that. And to those that call in the next 2 minutes, you'll qualify for an extra treatment free. This is an unheard of value worth hundreds of dollars. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic in the next 2 minutes to qualify for this unprecedented offer. 615-576-5000.
I sing country music. I call myself true modern country.
Let's run away.
Grayson Michael is a rising star in country music. He also just got engaged with help from Genesis Diamonds.
I got a ring twice as big as I thought I was going to be able to get.
Grayson shopped other stores, but nobody could beat Genesis.
The value was insane comparatively to what I looked at other local jewelers. There was just absolutely no comparison.
But beyond the price, Grayson just loved the experience at Genesis. The relaxed feel, the education.
Not pushy at all, which I really liked. You know, most of us guys, we don't really know a lot about diamonds. They help educate you so you can decide what's important to you and what's best for your purchase.
He ended up with a spectacular Henry Dawsey designer ring that his fiance loves to show off.
When people compliment her ring, I always say thank you.
Genesis Diamonds.
It's just unmatched. The price, the quality, and the service.
Where Nashville gets engaged.
Genesis Diamonds is the only place you want to go for your diamond purchase. They'll take care of you, and you'll take care of your lady.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Football is back, and Electronic Express has what you need to make the game bigger than ever. Bring the stadium to you with the best in-home entertainment from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. Watching the game on the go? Save big on laptops, tablets, and headphones. Plus, we have all your appliance needs up to 50% off and get up to 36 months free financing. We've got you covered this football season at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Darren McFarland.
And a mulligan that we all look for in golf. Lord knows our game could use it.
Willie Donick.
Outworked and outperformed a lot of other really good players.
Chase McCabe.
I want some sort of trade protection.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Curacion CBD on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman & Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Stillman & Company, again, Corey Davis faces the Titans. Corey Curtis on Twitter. Boy, he's like all worked up. Here was his comparison. I guess Jared, this is from Corey Curtis News 2. Boy, tomorrow's
going to be spicy.
Tomorrow's going to be a little spicy. I guess Jared does not understand that getting 0 from a first-round pick is worse than getting 4 seasons from one that helped the team to 6 playoff games. We can look at trade and possibilities and players that passed over. Just say, quote, I hate Corey Davis. It's faster. And as I said, I hated the Corey Davis pick at the time, and I still hate it today. But I tried so hard to explain that it's not the same thing. Oh, by the way, Corey had a great one too. And I had to. He had a great one. He said, I went to a 5-star steakhouse and had an average steak. That is a way bigger issue than the botulism I got at the fast food joint. That's what you're saying. And I said, no. I said, I'll make this comparison. Kalen Reed was taken in the 7th round by the Titans. They got almost nothing out of him. And I said, by that measure, Kalen Reed was a bigger mistake than trading up in the 1st round for Rashaan Evans. We know that's not true. Trading up for Rashaan Evans was a bad decision. Mm-hmm. Evans has been an average to below average player, and David Long Jr. is better than him, and he just showed up. And so, if you just take a player that was drafted like Kevin Dodd that was a bust, and you just say, well, that's a bigger mistake than Corey Davis, that doesn't make it. There has to be some layer to what you missed out on by doing that. It's like, I think going to Louisville for me was one of the best decisions I ever made, but I can't say that because I didn't really spend a lot of time looking at other colleges. So I don't know what else was out there. And maybe there was a better school for me. Maybe I'm the general manager of the Chicago Cubs right now if I had gone that route as opposed to...
But if you would have gone to another school that you absolutely hated, then you're going to weigh the opportunity cost of, well, I could have gone to Louisville, I could have gone to wherever else I was looking at, and I could have had a great time. But it's whenever it works out, you say, okay, this is the best decision I ever made. Maybe going to Clemson would have also been a great decision, but I'm pleased with the decision that I made because it worked out and I enjoyed it.
What we got on the text line?
We have a lot of texters still wanting to weigh in on our Derrick Henry conversation. Matt texts in and says he's a good running back, but he's not a superstar, and I seem to be the only one who feels that way. I do wonder, to Matt's point, who does he think is a superstar?
Yeah.
Who does he think is a superstar running back?
I mean, Derrick Henry is in the opening of Sunday Night Football. And if you're in the opening of Sunday Night Football, I mean, they ain't putting Anthony Ferguson in the opening of Sunday Night Football. They're not putting average players in the opening of Sunday Night Football. I mean, they're, and I don't know who else is in there, but it's Mahomes, it's Russell Wilson, it's,
Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, like it's the best players in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, so everybody always like does this weird thing where it's like, well, what defines superstar and what about, we had that discussion with all-time great and stuff like that. And for me, I just kind of shrug it all off. And I'm just like, whatever, you can always say, well, a true superstar. I heard Colin Cowherd a couple weeks ago was like, Brady and Jordan are superstars, but anything below that's not a super. I'm like, okay, then.
Okay, well, that's I feel like almost watering down what Brady and Jordan are because they're more than just a superstar.
Well, yeah, they're generationally, they are generational icons.
Yes.
They
will stand the test of time as some of the greatest icons in sports.
Yes, like Muhammad Ali is in that category. Though you tried to make the argument yesterday that Manny Pacquiao might be the greatest boxer of all time.
I mean, I don't know how he can't be in the conversation.
Because he's not Muhammad Ali.
Okay, I mean... Muhammad Ali would win the presidential election in the Philippines over Manny Pacquiao.
Dude, I love me some Muhammad Ali.
That is egregious.
Hey,
egregious.
I know one of them won the Thrilla in Manila.
One of them is from Manila.
Well, I know one of them won the Thrilla in Manila.
Well, one of them was born and raised and lives there.
Okay, who's more popular? Some random person that was born in Chicago or Michael Jordan?
Okay, that's different because you could say that
it's very different. Now I'm just grasping
in
at
the
straws
Philippines, he is the Michael Jordan, the Tom Brady,
probably
and the
right
Muhammad Ali.
Manny Pacquiao on that one. Headlines with Caroline. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025. Plus, we got a very interesting Thursday night football game of two crap teams. Although, are the Bengals crap? I don't know.
I will be wearing my Bengals jersey tonight.
Great.
My Jamar Chase jersey. Number 1, baby. Go Tigers.
How old is Jamar Chase?
How old is he? He's like 22.
How old are you?
24. I'm a girl. It's okay. It's allowed.
That is true. So I've been telling you all about my friends at TriStar Moving for almost a year now. And I absolutely love TriStar Moving because I used them when I moved from one home to the other, and they made it so simple. I hate moving, but not when you use my friends at TriStar Moving. That's why their motto is TriStar Movers with 5-star service. From the initial phone call to the final signature, moving was a breeze. They offer home protection, covering your floors, banisters, railings, door jambs, even the doors themselves. They are always upping the game when it comes to mover training. And they've got a brand new state-of-the-art storage facility in Mount Juliet in case you just have a little too much. Their owners, Garrett and Robert, are true Nashvillians, and I know this because when I moved, Garrett came over to the house, and we took pictures, and we had discussions, and he made sure that they took great care of me, and that's how he is with everybody. He makes sure that they take care of everyone, and that's why TriStar Moving is on the rise quickly. So if you're looking to move, give my friends at TriStar Moving a call, or at least get a bid from TriStar, because they will go that 5-star effort for you. 615-640-1219, or visit their website at nashvillemoving.org/radio. They'll give you 5% off your entire move. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you for 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Your speaker at home is so smart that even Alexa knows where to find Nashville's best sports talk.
102.5 The Game is Nashville's best sports talk.
Ask Alexa to enable 102.5 The Game. Once enabled, ask Alexa to play 102.5 The Game.
Welcome to 102.5 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
MTSU football returns to Floyd Stadium October 2nd for the annual Blackout game against the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Kickoff at 6 p.m. The official Blackout ticket t-shirt package on sale now for just $15. Floyd Stadium provides guaranteed fun for fans of all ages with the Blue Raider Beer Garden featuring Steel Barrel Brewery, the Family Fun Zone offering inflatables, carnival games, and an ice cream station. Get tickets at goblueraiders.com/tickets and enter promo code Blackout 2021. Go Blue Raiders.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing. Social Furniture on the West Side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box stores. Shop local, shop social.
It's football season, and Social Furniture has the best lifetime guarantee motion furniture on sale now. Their sofas with recliners are push-button electric and wall-away with all colors to choose from for your comfort. Sectionals from $9.99, recliners from $3.99. Sectionals with Chase Lounge and all-electric recliners from $19.99. Social Furniture will have you football ready with all furniture that are plus leather, microfiber, and There's no waiting, and take home your new motion furniture today or with their same-day fine furniture delivery. Social Furniture has no down payments and no interest. You don't want to miss out on their best lifetime guarantee motion furniture sale going on now.
Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
It's that time of year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron. Head to the website or use your mobile device and bring the game home with betonline.net.
Back in 1949, Dr. Houston began the tradition of treating athletes for common sports injuries. Today, the sports medicine physicians at Houston Clinic Orthopedics continue his legacy. Whether you play at school, in a league, on a professional team, or just enjoy being active, Houston Clinic Orthopedics physicians are there to help you stay in the game. Common sports injuries include tears, strains, sprains, and instabilities of the knee, shoulder, and ankle. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is located where you work and live. Visit tn.houston.com to book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the Callaway Apex Trade-In event running now through October 31st. Bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% trade-in bonus towards new Apex 21 irons. The Apex, Apex Pro, and Apex DCB are designed with artificial intelligence for faster ball speeds. Swing by and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel is one of Nashville's favorite places to dine, serving up their award-winning menu items again. Kitchen Notes is renowned for their Southern-inspired dishes with a contemporary twist. Their breakfast features the popular Music City omelets, sourdough pancakes, cast iron waffles, plus everyone knows that their Sunday brunches are the talk of the town. Lunch menu items include smoked prime rib, chicken hash, and the Kitchen Notes legendary shrimp and grits. Kitchen Notes is open Thursday through Sunday at 7 a.m. till 2 p.m.
Nashville's best best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I've got a new nickname for a new duo.
Okay. I'm nervous.
Joe Rexrode
Okay.
and Corey Curtis. I'm going to start calling them the Clowney brothers because they love Clowney. They wanted the Titans to get Clowney. Corey Curtis at my house in the Green Hills studio, the old Green Hills studio, said if they sign Corey, if they sign Jadeveon Clowney, they will be back in the AFC Championship game.
Did that happen?
It did not.
Okay.
And we all know how Joe and his flip-flopping and whatnot. So the Clowney brothers, because they can't get it right.
You are a repeat offender of pancaking as well.
But at least I explain why.
Okay.
At least there's an explanation.
Okay.
Joe.
I understood Joe's point.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did.
Joe's point was that he made the point on October 30th of 2020 and that Clowney was lost for the year on like November 8th. And how was he supposed to know that Clowney would be lost for the rest of the year on November 8th when he made that statement on October 30th?
And also, given the circumstances, would he have done it again, would he have done the Jadeveon Clowney trade again, knowing what he potentially could have brought to this team? He would have.
Except that everybody, the Jared and the GM program, was telling everyone no. That Clowney wasn't what you thought he was. And everyone's like, no, he is. That's the funny thing about Floyd, right? Was like, Floyd would say things like just, not in absolutes, but like every now and then, like Floyd lets you know how he felt.
Uh-huh.
Like he'd say, hey, this is not, you don't get this when you do that.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike me, where people be like, that is so dumb. I can't believe you'd say that. What are you talking? They would just ignore that Floyd said. Everything that you just said is wrong. They would ignore that.
Yeah.
And they just ignore it. Just like, oh, whatever. It's like, it's kind of like when like a doctor tells you something that you don't want to hear.
It's like, what do you know?
It's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
No one's going to sit there and say,
degree.
right. But no. They don't say that. It's just like, I see what you're saying. But it's time now for headlines with Caroline.
We're spanning the sports world. It's Headlines with Caroline on Stillman and Company. Right here on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
By the way, Corey Curtis just sent me something stupid, and so I'm going to reply on Twitter and just say, I'll see you at 3:15 tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll see you at 3:15.
Mic drop.
Headlines with Caroline presented by Fiero Tequila, the world's spiciest infused tequila on the market. Fiero Tequila, the world belongs to the brave.
We've done a lot of talking about bad draft picks, bad free agent acquisitions, which is very fitting because we have some news about a former Titans bad pick. Isaiah Wilson is now a New York Giant. He was signed to the Giants practice squad today. So he worked out with the Giants yesterday, returned to the facility Wednesday morning to go over meetings, to go over specifics, and today he was signed to the Giants practice squad. So Brian Flores, head coach in Miami, Joe Judge, they coached together in New England. So the Giants said, we know exactly what has gone down with Isaiah Wilson. We are aware of all of his run-ins with the law. But Brian Flores, Joe Judge, they talked about it. They're close friends. And Joe Judge says we feel comfortable signing Isaiah Wilson, especially given all of the injuries that they've had on their offensive line. So Isaiah Wilson, he's like a cat with 9 lives.
He's a bum.
I mean, I'm amazed.
He's a bum. Isaiah Wilson doesn't know this. I have stuck my neck out for Isaiah Wilson's NFL career. I'll just say that. And he is a bum. Like, he is a bum. What's next?
LaShawn McCoy, 6-time Pro Bowl running back, has announced his retirement. He announced his retirement today, and he will be honored. Well, he signed a 1-year or a 1-day deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, so he can retire as a Philadelphia Eagle, and he will be honored on Sunday, their game against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is cool because Andy Reid was his coach for a long time in his time at Philadelphia. So, all-time rushing leader in Philadelphia.
I feel like you
LaShawn
just
McCoy.
left out the most obvious part of this.
What?
He was on the Chiefs last year.
Oh, he was on the Chiefs last year.
What are you talking about?
He
Like,
was on the Chiefs
It's the
last
two teams
year.
he played for.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Shady was a good player.
Yeah.
I always thought it was a little crazy, but maybe I just thought that.
Yeah, why did you think that because he played for the Chiefs?
No.
I kind of feel like you have like this thing with the Chiefs. You think
Didn't
everyone
he-
that plays for them is just bad.
Didn't he go a little crazy at one point?
Did he? I don't know.
I mean, there are a lot of dudes on the Chiefs that are bad.
Yeah.
DeAndre Baker, Tyreek Hill. They had Le'Veon Bell last year.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's some crazy on the Chiefs. I don't know. Maybe I'm just – I'm not going to do like I did when the Titans signed Janoris Jenkins and go over his entire Wikipedia page and just
Of
start
his Rolls
reading
Royce
off.
getting stolen from the economy lobby
that
at
happened
the airport.
after.
I know, but that's my favorite Janoris
But he was
Jenkins
the
story.
victim there.
And
The
also,
other
can I
ones
say
were
that
like,
hearing the name Janoris Jenkins, I was like, wait, who is that? I was like, oh, Jackrabbit, obviously.
Yeah, I should have said that. By the way, somebody said on Twitter, and I know this is your headline segment, somebody said, Jared Stillman just said John Robinson would have been fired by now had it not been for his Derrick Henry pick. Like, as if that's a bad thing.
I mean, I don't know. Like, do you think it was a bad thing?
I mean, I think that the person is tweeting that out as if it's like a bad thing. Can you believe Jared Stillman said John Robinson would be fired if he didn't pick the best running back in the NFL? Like, yeah, you know what?
I don't know if I would go that far.
I do. I don't think Belichick makes it 25 years if he doesn't pick the best player ever.
That's a little different.
I don't think.
Derrick Henry and Tom Brady are a little different.
Jerry Krause was a great general manager when he traded up for Scottie Pippen and drafted Horace Grant and signed Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
But then after all those guys left and he had picks, he drafted Elton Brand. I mean, he could have gone out. Jerry Krause wasn't very good anymore, was he? And he got fired. And the Bulls haven't won a game since.
I don't know what you're getting at there.
My point is,
I think you're just trying to incorporate some sort of last dance element.
No, the thing is that when you take a transcendently great player,
when you pick a great player, it looks good on you when you're the general manager.
it helps you keep your job.
Yes.
And if you don't pick great players, you get fired. You just brought up Joe Judge and the Jets and Dave Gettleman signing Isaiah Wilson to the practice squad.
Yes.
And guess what they've done? Picked bad players. And guess what's going to happen to them?
They're
fired.
going to be bad. They're in the
Because
Giants
they
are going
don't
to be
have
bad.
a Derrick Henry.
I'd like to move on to the headline
Please,
segment, please.
please.
A little bit of legal jargon in this one, but it was announced today that the National Labor Relations Board has decided that college football players at private schools can unionize. So they determined this.
But not public schools.
Not public schools yet, just private schools for now. So they determined that college football players and athletes in revenue-producing sports at private universities are technically considered employees of their schools. So they threatened action against schools, conferences, and the NCAA if they continue to use the term student athletes. Now, I don't know if that applies to public and private institutions. It was just included in this article, but if the NCAA, schools, and conferences continue to use student athlete, they will threaten legal action because it kind of dilutes their contributions, their financial contributions to the institution. So Gabe Feldman, who's the director of sports law at Tulane, a private institution, said that this won't really have an immediate impact on student athletes or athletics at private institutions right now, but it is an indication that the collegiate athletics model is changing, and it will continue to change down the road.
Oh, my God. If somebody sues over using student athletes, get out of here.
I mean, I think it's more of a thing, like if you say student athlete on a broadcast, when you're doing play-by-play, I think that's a lot different than using student athlete in an NCAA commercial whenever you have people that are looking over
it's all
the
bull
dialogue.
Crap. It's always been bull crap. Now the bull crap is going to like a whole nother level.
It's a complete legal battle, just to be very nitpicky, especially in this NIL age.
Don't you say that word, student athlete. Okay. Headlines with Caroline, presented by Firo Tequila, the world's spiciest infused tequila on the market. The world belongs to the brave. I'm sorry. I'm up against it because I had to complain about that guy on Twitter. That's okay. Saying that, it's a bad thing that I said that John Robinson be fired without Derrick. Guys, guys, do we remember what the Titans were before Derrick Henry?
Also, Harmon texts in the text line says, LaShawn McCoy was on the Chiefs 2 years ago, Bucks last year. Didn't go crazy. A woman tried to frame him when he was with the Bills, and she was exposed as a fraud.
Okay. All right.
So I didn't fact check that, but I'm taking what a texter says.
Whatever. Caroline's coming up next. Plus, because we're out of here early for the Preds game today, let's give away some Preds tickets. We'll do that next as well. FanDuel Sportsbook. After 20 years on the same sideline, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick meet this weekend as opponents. It's the GOAT versus the GOAT. And you can be a part of the epic showdown with this unbelievable deal from the FanDuel Sportsbook app, my official sportsbook app. Right now, new customers can win $125 on a $5 bet if either team scores a touchdown. Seems like free money right there. 25-1 odds on any touchdown anytime during Tampa, New England on Sunday. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook app using the promo code JGM and make your first bet on the history books. Don't forget to use promo code JGM. 21 and up and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus $125. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Hang out with us every weekday starting at 6 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad.
Limping off the field. I can confirm he was limping off the field.
Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2.
Wouldn't say it deserves a gold star.
We want people to play along.
This is what's crazy.
And Stillman and Company from 2 to 6.
I want to go last. Can I go last?
Sure.
Watch live on Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Tune in anytime on the Game Nashville app or your home speaker. This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee, serving golfers since 1968.
The C10 Nationals are here. Friday, October 1st and Saturday, October 2nd at Nashville Super Speedway. The C10 Nationals, one of the largest GM truck shows in the world. Don't miss the autocross, the burnout contest, the dyno, along with vendor midway swap meet, cruise the track, and more. Cap it all off with a huge award ceremony. Spectator tickets are just $20 per day. Trucks can register at the gate day of the event. Visit C10Nationals.com. That's C10Nationals.com for more information.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Fall is here, and that means the cold winds of winter are coming. It's a great time to replace those old, drafty windows. Pella is the leader in the industry for top-quality window and door products. But Pella Windows and Doors are also affordable, extremely affordable. Pella has payment plans less than $95 a month to replace your windows. So, I suggest you purchase your windows and doors from the experts at Pella of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
The 102.5 The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text The Game at 615-737-1025.
Hey, this is Jared, the owner of MTGRT.com. If your mortgage rate is not in the twos, then you need to call me now. We are locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. That's right, you heard it right. Locking in clients in the twos with no closing costs. Text me on my personal cell at 615-969-2257 or fill out a few pieces of information on our website, MTGRT.com. MTGRT.com is the proud sponsor of Paul Feinbaum, heard on 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
This Saturday, it's a marquee doubleheader when Michigan visits Wisconsin, followed by Ole Miss at #1 Alabama. Coverage begins at 10:30 on ESPN, 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Stillman and Company. Let's give away some Preds tickets if you're okay with that.
I would love to.
Predators, by the way, coming up preseason with Tampa. That coming up tonight, so we are out of here in like 5 minutes. So let me go ahead and give away these tickets to Saturday night. Be caller 5 at 615-737-1025 right now, and you'll win a pair of tickets to see the Predators and the Lightning at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, October 2nd. It's time now for Carolines.
Get in on the action. Put the money on the mahogany. What's on tap on the sports books? It's time to break it all down with Carolines. Here on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Carolines is brought to you by BetUS. It's America's favorite sportsbook and has been for over 25 years. You can sign up at BetUS.com, mention game, and get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit. We've got Braves and Phillies tonight.
Yes, we do.
Give me the Braves on the money line. You can get that at minus 155. Kyle Gibson on the mound for the Phillies. He is 10-8 with a 3.6 ERA in 29 starts. Now, he's allowed 4 earned runs over his last 6 innings pitches. On the other hand, Ian Anderson on the mound for the Braves. He's 8-5, also 3.6 ERA across 23 starts. Now, he has a 2.04 ERA over his last 3 starts at home. The Braves have been on an absolute heater, won 9 of his last 10 games, won the last 5 games. The Phillies have scored just 3 combined runs, dropping the first 2 games against Atlanta. So give me Atlanta on the money line, minus 155.
What's the biggest reason you're picking the Braves in this game?
The biggest reason? Because they've been on a heater.
You don't know what's at stake, do you?
Yeah.
What?
The NL East. Or the AL East.
The NL East.
NL East.
The Braves win the NL East if they win tonight.
Yes.
And because of that, I mean, I watched the first 2 games of this series. I mean, the Phillies, I think, started the series 3 back. And so you got 3 back and a 3-game set. And if the Phillies were going to get back in this race, they were going to have to sweep the series. Or, you know, if they took 2 out of 3, they could at least have a puncher's chance. The magic number is 1. So the Braves are going to win the East. And the Braves have just stymied Philadelphia's bats. I just think that the way this works, Philadelphia came into Atlanta saying, okay, this is the series that we had to take. And then once they lost the first 2 games in deflating fashion, I mean, Charlie Morton and Max Fried totally just shut those bats down. Usually this 3rd game is like a formality. And they're just kind of like, oh, goodness. And the Braves are looking at it like, all right, boys, we get out there today and we take
just
this
one
baby
more
home.
and we're done.
And we are, you know, there's excitement on one side and deflation on the other. And so I think the Braves are going to win this one handedly.
We also have a college football game tonight. Virginia-Miami at 6:30. I'm going to take Virginia plus 4.
Miami sucks.
Miami is bad. I mean, they got a win against Central Connecticut State last week, 69-0, which Central Connecticut State, nice little campus. You still live close to there. But also Virginia's quarterback, Brennan Armstrong, leads the nation in passing yards. He's averaging 426 passing yards per game. And Miami is giving up the 2nd most passing yards per game in the ACC. I think Virginia gets this one done as the underdog.
Yeah, I think Miami stinks.
Keep going.
I'm going to take Virginia plus the 4.
Okay. We've also got a Thursday night football game tonight.
This is the Jags and the Bengals. They knew no one was going to care about this, which is why they put it on there.
It's a gross
game.
game.
And everybody, I will be stunned if the Bengals don't absolutely, and I don't even know if the Bengals are good, and I don't even know if we'll be able to know.
Do we know if the Bengals are good or not?
No.
I haven't decided.
We don't know. We don't know anything. We don't know if they're bad. We don't know if they're good.
Yes.
Like, we don't know. Like, they could be bad. I mean, but they also are 2-1. Mm-hmm. But they're going to kill the Jags.
Yeah.
I mean,
the spread here is 7.5, and that kind of feels like easy money. Take the Bengals.
So there are a couple things in this. One, I would lay the 7.5 because I think that, first of all, Thursday night football almost always favors the home team, especially when the home team is better. And in this case, the Bengals are significantly better than Jacksonville. Secondly, I think, like, Jacksonville, they got killed by Houston. They're a mess.
Yeah.
Like, we knew that it was going to be bad, Urban Meyer taking it over, and Urban's been worse than we thought it would be.
And I thought the Jags were going to be better than the Texans. Like, I thought the Jags were going to be 3rd in the AFC South.
Sure, because they got Trevor Lawrence.
They got Trevor Lawrence,
Urban
Meyer. Yeah, I mean, they're not a complete mess at quarterback.
The other one, I think 18.5 is the home team, the road team total, which is the amount of points the Jags could score. I don't think the Jags are going to score 18.5 points tonight.
I think I would take the under on that.
And I think the Bengals, I think their number is like 23. Like 23.5 points for them. I mean, I think that the Bengals are going to score 30, and I think that the Jags are going to score under 16.
Interesting you say that because the over-under is set at 46.
46.
Mm-hmm.
So 30 and under 16.
So under. You're saying under.
Yeah. I take the under in this game.
Interesting.
I think Jacksonville's going to get so killed. I think this is going to be embarrassing for them.
I think this whole season kind of is going to be embarrassing for the Jags.
Who do you think gets the number 1 pick this year?
The Jags.
Over the Jets?
I think the Jets are going to win more games.
Unbelievable. Tell us about BetUS.
Carolines is brought to you by BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook for over 25 years. You can sign up at BetUS.com, mention GAME, and get a sign-up bonus on your first deposit.
That's going to do it for us. We are out of here. Darren McFarland is standing by for network control as the Predators get set to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in a preseason game. Pre-game show is next. We will see you tomorrow for a Fireball Hot Take Friday.